Chapter 1563. Boom. Time and space in the great wilderness reversed, everything flowed in reverse, and reincarnation shattered. Emperor Yi and Lin Wutian's figures quickly dissipated, crossing countless time and space and rushing back to their original path. History was rewinding. The reincarnation in front of them was shattering. If they did not retreat, they would be drowned by reincarnation. Yi Qinghan was forced to retreat quickly, returning to the original path. His figure was like light, and 10,000 years passed in an instant. Boom! Time flowed, and a figure rushed from the 100,000 mountains to the ground. Yi Qinghan fell from the sky and looked at Yi Qinghan at the foot of the mountain. His figure moved and dodged, standing in the distance, looking at the reincarnation of the past clearly. His previous life self-detonated on Owl War Planet, and his soul crossed over. He actually felt his hair stand on end. Everything was set in order and could not be changed. No matter how he changed, he could not break free from the shackles of the heavenly Tao. Huff huff huff. Yi Qinghan's breathing quickened as he watched himself being brought home by Wang Shi and Meng Shi. He wanted to reach out and change the ending, but in the end he resisted. How many times have I been rewound? How many times have I been beaten back by Swan Padian? Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, but he could not walk out of this vicious circle. If I meet my past self at the end of the world, can we coexist? Or will one of us disappear? Yi Qinghan wondered to himself. The only thing he could be sure of now was that if he wanted to break this reincarnation, either he or Swan Padian had to die. Swan Padian and Yi Qinghan were the same. They both wanted to break free from the shackles, leave this reincarnation, and go to a new world to control their own destiny. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and thought to himself, so Swan Padian already knew that reincarnation was a trap, and just wanted to use me to get the strongest world. This time, he knows that I'm back, and will definitely chase after me. But it won't be easy for him to cross time and space and come back. Back then, he did not know that I was in the Chaos Realm. I'm safe for now, but I don't have much time left. Whoosh! The 100,000 mountains shone brightly, and the cycle of reincarnation appeared, turning from blurry to clear. Even though Padian was about to enter, he wasn't from the primal chaos realm, so it wouldn't be easy for him to return. He had to obtain the permission of the Tao laws of the primal chaos realm, so he could only slowly fumble about. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to enter. Yi Qinghan soared into the air, rushing toward the mythology continent with extreme speed. The primal chaos continent was shattered into countless pieces, forming many small planes. Yi Qinghan appeared inside the primal chaos world. His hand reached into the sky as he stared ahead, piercing through the void. A suction force condensed the countless planes, trying to reassemble the primal chaos world. Boom, boom, whoosh, whoosh. The continents reformed one after another. All living beings were alarmed as they looked at Yi Qinghan at the peak of the sky, unsure of what he was going to do. However, Yi Qinghan knew what he had to do. Some sacrifices were necessary. The entire primal chaos continent would become cannon fodder for his advancement. Killing a single person was a crime. Massacring an entire realm, who was that? When Yi Qinghan became ruthless, he might be even more terrifying than Swan Potion's imagination. The continents reformed one after another. The gods in the primal chaos continent couldn't even fly. All of them looked up at the sky. Those so-called high gods were nothing more than ants. Devour! Yi Qinghan's roar reverberated through the mountains and rivers. The yin and yang qi in the billions of living beings in the primal chaos world left their bodies, forming clear streams of yin and yang energy that rushed towards Yi Qinghan like giant dragons. I'm very sorry. I need your lives. Yi Qinghan's voice was like the voice of a cold machine, emotionless and emotionless. If he wanted to fight against Swan Padian, he had to break through to the world overlord realm and return to the past, joining forces with Inzi. Ah, heavenly deity, please spare us. Mournful roars of anger resounded through the heavenly river. The pleas for mercy rang out endlessly. However, Yi Qinghan's heart was like a boulder. He became even more resolute, and the speed at which he absorbed the yin and yang qi became even more ferocious. He didn't care about the lives of the living beings, causing them to fall to the ground and die completely. There are some rules that must be broken. Yi Qinghan roared angrily. Although this action had a fatal conflict with his bottom line, he had no choice but to break his bottom line. He had killed so many people in one go. Even he hated himself. However, when he thought of the words he said to Yen Ao in the past, when some people had to die, then let them die. Otherwise, more people would die. Endless yin and yang qi gathered in the sky and was forcefully taken away by Yi Qinghan. 100 million, 200 million, 1 billion, billions of living beings, regardless of which continent they were in, were all sucked dry by Yi Qinghan. Everyone and living beings fell to the ground. However, the affected areas were all the higher planes. The living beings in the higher planes were the strongest and the spiritual energy was the densest. One plane was flattened, followed by the second plane. Yi Qinghan's yin and yang qi filled his entire body and finally moved towards his own world. All living beings became Yi Qinghan's food. The godly power and yin and yang qi in their bodies were all devoured. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan's blood and qi surged. His godly power turned into world power and he began to forcefully control the primal chaos realm. He increased the devouring speed and was racing against time. He had to break through to the world lord realm before Swan Padian entered the primal chaos realm. Huang, you are the greatest villain in the 9 worlds. You are the one who is spurned by all living beings. An ear-piercing voice came from outside. It was Swan Padian of this era. He was forcefully breaking through the barrier and stepping in from the entrance. Devour! Roared Yi Qinghan turned into a heaven-devouring dragon and swooped down from the sky. All living beings' spiritual energy was devoured and a plane disappeared in an instant. His aura was unstoppable and swallowed the river. Xiu xiu xiu. One dragon turned into 10,000 dragons and swallowed in all directions. Roar roar roar. Boom boom boom. 10,000 dragons roared. Yi Qinghan's veins popped out. He looked at the primal chaos realm emotionlessly. He didn't expect the primal chaos realm that he wanted to protect the most would be destroyed by himself. That heart-wrenching pain and shame shrouded his heart. Boom! That the divine dragon flashed across the ground and everything in its path withered. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness was filled with yin and yang energy. He transferred all the energy in the primal chaos realm into his own world. Bang! The entrance to the endless star system was broken by the divine dragon. It opened its mouth and swallowed all the energy in the endless star system into its stomach. No one was more ruthless and cruel than Yi Qinghan. The primal chaos realm became a shelf. There was no human or living being. Even the plants were swallowed. Heaven and earth are limitless. Yin and yang borrow the reincarnation of the world. Yi Qinghan punched through the world and reincarnation reappeared. Xiu Yi Qinghan disappeared from the primal chaos realm. There were no more rules in the primal chaos realm. Boom! Yi Qinghan caught the reincarnation and returned to the past. He met Swan Padian outside the Great Desolation Palace in the Great Desolation World. The two of them flashed with cold light and their eyes were extremely cold. Desolation, I didn't expect you to be so vicious. In order to survive, you actually devoured all the energy in a world and destroyed it. You destroyed half of the mother world. Go back to the primal chaos realm and take a look. Did they all die because of you? Swan Padian sneered. Chapter 1564. Swan Padian sneered as he looked at Yi Qinghan. He discovered that Yi Qinghan's strength was already at the boundary between Sector Lord and Paragon. He knew that even if he wanted to kill Yi Qinghan, it wouldn't be that easy. Thus, he intentionally provoked Yi Qinghan. Everyone in the primal chaos realm had died because Yi Qinghan had distorted the history of the plane of balance and destroyed the primal chaos realm. The primal chaos realm of this era had instantly turned into a desolate land. Yi Qinghan naturally knew what kind of losses would be caused by destroying the primal chaos realm. However, he didn't have any emotions at this moment. Facing Swan Potion's provocation, he only replied indifferently, I know, they are all dead. Ha! The brothers and sisters who had protected you for your entire life didn't die in my hands. Instead, they all died in your hands. Moreover, they didn't even have the chance to reincarnate. The entire primal chaos realm has been devoured by you. I wonder how you feel about this? Swanpatian laughed crazily. It was as if he felt even better than killing Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Swanpatian. Although Swanpatian had the appearance of a vile person intoxicated with success, his heart was very calm. So calm that it was somewhat terrifying. Seeing that Yi Qinghan didn't have any reaction, Swanpatian couldn't help but retract his wild laughter and reveal a sinister smile. He quietly looked at Yi Qinghan and waited for the opportunity to attack. Now, Yi Qinghan's cultivation had not only reached the boundary of Sector Lord but also comprehended Yin and Yang. This was equivalent to the fusion of 4 Sector Lords. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary Sector Lord. Desolation, Yi Qinghan himself, the Emperor of Giant Blood Race, Yin-Yang Sector Lord. These 4 Sector Lords were one soul, but they could simultaneously control the power of 4 Supreme Beings. They weren't something that Divine Lord Righteous Sky and the others could compare to. Sigh. After a long time, Yi Qinghan sighed softly. It reverberated in the great wasteland realm and stirred up a sad melody. A general success was built on the bones of 10,000 soldiers. He even stepped on the corpses of his brothers and sisters to reach this step. How could he bear to do this? But Yi Qinghan had gritted his teeth and done it. His cruelty was incomprehensible, but only he knew that if he didn't destroy the primal chaos world, he would personally destroy it. You should understand now that only one of us can survive. It's a pity that I've nurtured a tiger to bring calamity upon myself. I originally wanted to create the strongest world, become the god of creation, and break free from the shackles of the 9 worlds. However, I've groomed you to this stage. It's my miscalculation. I still can't break the will of heaven. Swanpatian stared at Yi Qinghan and slowly said, "Desolate Lord, I will give you a chance to go back on your words. As long as you let me kill you, I will find Yinzi Xianzhe and devour her world. This old man can reverse time and space and let the primal chaos realm return to reincarnation. Moreover, I will not interfere with their fate." The corners of Yi Qinghan's eyes twitched. He raised the corners of his mouth and laughed hoarsely. "Can your words be trusted? You have no other choice. With your strength, you can't win against this old man. Even if I don't kill you, you can't reach my level. You can't reverse time and space and let the primal chaos world return to its previous order and let those people return to the world." Swanpatian reminded in a deep voice. The winds of the great desolate howled, blowing the hair and battle robes of the two. The two faced each other for dozens of meters, their killing intent soaring to the sky. "Ha!" Yi Qinghan raised his head and laughed. He raised his hand and the berserk saber appeared in his hand. The saber's cold light was like lightning, especially dazzling. "If I could believe you, why would I let so many people die? Swanpatian, today, either you die or I die. As long as I kill you, as long as time permits, I will be able to control the 9 worlds' heaven sooner or later. The wheel of fate will be controlled by me sooner or later. Inda Chua." Yi Qinghan held the saber at his waist. His soul instantly merged with the great desolate. He wanted to fight to the death with Swanpatian. Swanpatian laughed disdainfully and said indifferently, "Without me, the primal chaos world will never return to its original path. Its order will never return. If you don't believe me, you can enter the primal chaos world and see what it is like now. It doesn't even have a cycle of reincarnation. Everything was destroyed by you. How can you revive those people?" Yi Qinghan didn't even dare to look at the primal chaos world. He didn't know how ruthless he was to destroy the primal chaos world. Now, he didn't have the guts to go back and take a look. Even if he did, his Tao heart would become unstable. "Back then, I used the power of the 9 worlds heaven to open up the primal chaos world's cycle of reincarnation. But now, you have destroyed the structure of the primal chaos world, the most basic energy. This is an irreversible destruction. Only by combining the power of me, Yinzi, Xianzhe, and yourself can it be reversed. None of the 3 can be missing. Don't hope for luck. If you don't believe me, you can go in and take a look." Yi Qinghan was willing to go back. He was afraid that it would affect his state of mind. Swanpodian was so kind he definitely wouldn't. He was just looking for an opportunity to attack. Dead is dead. Since I devoured them, I was prepared for them to never return. Yi Qinghan's eyes burned with flames. His voice was ruthless. He stomped his foot and his saber was like a rainbow. It shattered space and time as he attacked Swanpodian. Boom! Hua! With a slash, Swan Potion's figure immediately collapsed. It was so fast that even after he left, his afterimage didn't dissipate. And, if you're not a realm lord, how can you fight me? Swanpodian snorted in disdain and continued to provoke. Desolate Lord, I didn't expect you to be so vicious. Don't you feel guilty for killing so many of your brothers? Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat. He was getting angrier and angrier. He couldn't help but remind himself that he must calm down. Otherwise, Swanpodian would find an opportunity. Swanpodian, at my level, there's no need to play these little tricks. If you want to kill me, you still need to rely on your true abilities. If my state of mind was truly unstable, I wouldn't have destroyed the primal chaos world. Come out and fight me. If you win, your life is yours. If you lose, don't even think about escaping. Yi Qinghan's cold light shot out in all directions. He scanned the starry sky and felt the great desolate world. He discovered that Swanpodian had already left the great desolate world. The great desolate world was Yi Qinghan's territory. This world was under his control. Swanpodian naturally didn't want Yi Qinghan to have the advantage. Desolate Lord, if you want to fight, come to the Void Ocean. That is our battlefield. A faintly discernible voice echoed in the great desolate world. Yi Qinghan wielded his blade and charged towards the Void Ocean. Everywhere he passed, he devoured all life. Yin and Yang borrowed the Tao, destroying all living things. However, Yi Qinghan's realm was still drifting between Sector Lord and Pseudo-Sector Lord Great Circle. He couldn't officially break through to that stage. If he could, then even if he couldn't win against Swanpodian, he wouldn't die. Devour. Yi Qinghan devoured all desolate beasts. Endless desolate god energy formed huge dragons. All living things in the great desolate world seemed to want to fuse with the desolate lord and become one with him. Li. The desolate god beast tore through the void and gathered with the dragons, fusing into Yi Qinghan's body. Swanpodian frowned and looked at Yi Qinghan in the center. He roared hoarsely, "Desolate Lord, you're really ruthless. You actually used such a vicious technique to deal with your two mother realms at the same time. Everyone, go to QQ to read my new book. You can find it by searching for my pen name." Chapter 1565. Swanpodian was shocked by Yi Qinghan's ruthlessness. Only now did he realize that he didn't understand Yi Qinghan at all. He always thought that Yi Qinghan would abandon him for the sake of brotherhood and mother realm. Who would have thought that in the end, Yi Qinghan would give up on his brotherhood and erase the mother realm? Why is he so vicious? Could it be that he has a way to restore the primal chaos world and the great wasteland world? Swanpodian squinted his eyes and stared at Yi Qinghan in the great wasteland. He was somewhat uncertain. Boom! Yi Qinghan broke through the bottleneck of the realm lord realm. His aura suppressed the heavens as if a war god had reappeared. After consuming half of the great wasteland world, he finally returned to the peak. Nurturing a tiger is inviting calamity. Seems like I have no choice but to kill you today. Swanpodian glared and coldly said, "There are some things that you will never be able to predict." Yi Qinghan stepped forward with his blade. Cold light flashed as he appeared in the ocean of void. Swish, swish, swish. The two sped through the ocean of void and arrived above a vast ocean. The two stopped talking and directly took out their weapons to fight. Hua! Huge waves surged as if the entire ocean of void was being lifted. Swish, swish. Swanpodian attacked with more than 10 copper coins. They pierced through the waves. The black copper coin hidden within the coins was even sharper than divine weapons. Eighth slash. Yi Qinghan stirred up the ocean of void's aura. This slash pierced through 10,000 li and shattered more than 10 copper coins. However, the black copper coin broke through the resistance and directly attacked Yi Qinghan's head. The blade slashed towards Swanpodian, but the black copper coin was faster. The two collided and space-time became unstable as the ocean roared. Swish! Yi Qinghan twisted his body and dodged the black copper coin. The copper coin was as fast as lightning. The air current it carried was like a blade that cut off a strand of black hair. Swan Patin looked at Yi Qinghan's crazy attack and his mouth was full of disdain. Just a barbarian with strength. Swish! Potion's speed was too fast. He had complete control over the laws of space and time. Time and space couldn't stop him. The saber slashed through his afterimages and dispersed them, but it couldn't hurt his body at all. Limitless heaven and earth, borrowing power from the universe. Destruction. Yi Qinghan devoured millions of miles of the sea and all living things withered away. He devoured all energy and gathered it into the heavy berserk blade. In a split second, dark clouds covered the sky and lightning struck down from the sky. Flames overflowed into the sky. Whoosh! A horizontal slash of the saber swept in all directions, making it impossible for anyone to dodge. The power that erupted from the saber was filled with destruction. Boom! Boom! The ocean of nothingness was restless, and the rivers and seas were overturned. A curtain of water soared into the sky, accompanied by streaks of lightning that pierced through time and space. It unleashed a large-scale indiscriminate attack. As long as it was within 1,000,000 miles, even Heavenbreaker would have to face it head-on no matter how fast he was. 7 stars suppressing heaven. Dragonlock seal, whoosh! The Swan Patin calculation formed a seal with his 10 fingers and mobilized the 7 black copper coins to tear the sky apart and collided with the 9th blade. With the force of thunder, he crushed 10,000 bolts of lightning and crashed into Yi Qinghan's heavy blow. Boom! The 7 stars seal was chaotic and orderly as it pressed down on Yi Qinghan with a heaven-suppressing force. The energy blasted away the waves and caused the entire sea to sink. Huang, accept your death. The Swan Patin calculation was extremely powerful. He tore apart the lightning and descended from the clouds. His large hand controlled the 7 black copper coins and pressed down madly. The sea parted and a chasm appeared. Yi Qinghan's 9th blade was unexpectedly suppressed by the Swan Patin calculation's aura and seemed somewhat weak. Yi Qinghan emitted a cold light. With a thought, the great wasteland tablet rushed out of his body and spun continuously. It appeared under his feet and crazily scuttled upwards. The heavy berserk tore apart the starry river and charged back at the 7 stars suppressing heaven. The winds and clouds in the sea suddenly changed, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Both sides were in a stalemate. However, Yi Qinghan was using his full strength, while the Swan Patin calculation's strength was unknown and had yet to erupt with his strongest state. Yi Qinghan was below while the Swan Patin calculation was above. A cloud of aurora appeared between them and formed a vortex that spun at high speed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Boom, boom, boom. In a split second, the sea bobbed up and down and rolled over on both sides. No matter how strong the heavy berserk was, he could not tear apart the seal of the 7 stars suppressing heaven. However, even the Swan Patin calculation could not advance an inch. Borrowing the power of the universe, yin and yang open, reincarnation appear. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's body suddenly split into 4. The desolate master's true body, Yi Qinghan's true body, the giant blood avatar, and the yin and yang projections all attacked the Swan Patin calculation with their world weapons in hand. The heavens and earth collapsed, reincarnation appeared, and yin and yang reversed. Boom, boom, boom. The heavens and earth rumbled incessantly. The lightning became denser and denser, covering the sky and the sun. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 4 figures were as fast as lightning and formed numerous afterimages. No one knew their true intentions. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as the Swan Patin calculation's 7 black copper coins attacked the 4 avatars, more than 10 true attacks like divine dragons suddenly attacked the 7 copper coins. At the same time, the 4 avatars of Yi Qinghan attacked the Swan Patin calculation with lightning speed. Swan Patin was shocked. At this moment, he realized that Yi Qinghan still had helpers. Boom! The desolate master's true body held the great wasteland tablet and fiercely swung it at the Swan Patin calculation from afar. Amidst the flashes of lightning and thunder, Yi Qinghan attacked the right side of the Swan-Padian calculation while the giant blood avatar attacked the left side of the Swan-Padian calculation. The yin and yang projections actually wanted to pull the Swan-Padian calculation into the reincarnation cycle. Bang bang bang. Pood at the Swan-Padian calculation was caught off guard and was hit by the 4 powerful attacks. His 7 black copper coins were actually blocked. Even though it was only blocked for a moment, in a breath's time, he was attacked by the 4 supreme experts. He coughed up blood and was sent flying. It was not easy for him to break free from the yin and yang reincarnation. Impossible! Aren't they all dead? Swan-Padian was furious. He could not accept that Jiang Jingtian and the others appeared in front of him. Ha! Swan-Padian, can you really calculate the Swan-Padian? Your intelligence is only SOSO. You've calculated everything, but you can't calculate my nature. Yi Qinghan laughed. He had the upper hand and roared. 9th blade, destruction. Great desolation, suppression. Boom. 9th blade, destruction. Another 4 attacks wrapped around Swan-Padian. Time and space were crushed and Swan-Padian was sucked into the vortex of war. Jiang Jingtian, Gu Qingyu, Li Feng, Shige, the real experts of the older generation were standing on the periphery. They were working together with the spirit race to keep the 7 copper coins in place. Except for Lin Wutian and Emperor Yi, the others were all here. Impossible. You destroyed the primal chaos world. How can you preserve their lives? Swan-Padian was furious. The reason he lost was because these people blocked the 7 copper coins for a moment. Otherwise, Yi Qinghan would not have been able to hit him. Because I comprehended the Yinzi Xianzai's yin-yang world and the ultimate meaning of reincarnation. I simulated the 9 worlds heaven in my own world. When I destroyed the world, I saved some people and let them live in an illusion. I simulated their life trajectories. Although I can't preserve the lives of my son and Wutian, I can preserve their lives. Yi Qinghan was incomparably powerful. He gave Swan-Padian a double blow. 4 clones attacked Swan-Padian at the same time. Chapter 1566. Boomed at the sword and saber destroyed heaven and earth. The great wasteland tablet suppressed the sea. Huge waves pushed in all directions, drowning countless islands. A part of the great wasteland world was also submerged. Swan-Padian could not move the 7 black copper coins back. He relied on his physical body and the power of the world to fight against Yi Qinghan. He suppressed the 4 doppelgangers and was actually evenly matched. Swan-Padian was indeed the strongest in the 9 worlds. Even if he was injured and unarmed, he could still fight against Yi Qinghan at his peak. Boom! Adat Swan-Padian roared and his chi burst out, sending Yi Qinghan's 4 doppelgangers flying. At the same time, the expert of the insane sect who controlled the 7 copper coins was also sent flying. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 7 copper coins returned to Swan-Padian's hand. At this moment, Swan-Padian was bleeding from his 7 orifices. His chi and blood were surging uncontrollably. Huang, you win this time. It's my fault this time. But you'll see how I kill your brothers one by one in the future. Whoosh da whoosh. Swan-Padian's figure flashed and he left after saying those words. His speed was so fast that Yi Qinghan could not stop him. Yi Qinghan watched Swan-Padian escape. He did not stop him and he could not stop him. Are you going to let him escape? Jiang Jingtian asked unwillingly. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and shook his head. I'm no match for him unless I find Xianzai and join forces with her. At this moment, a terrifying pressure suddenly rose from the distance, sweeping over from the distance, and a huge wave rushed towards everyone. Damned humans! This is the ocean of void. It's my territory. If you dare to fight here again, I'll swallow you. A violent voice resounded through the clouds and a murderous aura soared into the sky. A huge tail crossed the void and broke the mountains and rivers. East Sea Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yi Qinghan did not need to look to know that it was him. This guy had a bad temper and did not know how to communicate with humans. He did not know how to use anything other than his fists. Therefore, Yi Qinghan hurriedly took the insane sex people away and rushed into the great wasteland world without saying goodbye. Half a day later, at the entrance of the chaotic realm in the Great Wilderness Palace, Yi Qinghan stepped into the primal chaos world. The primal chaos world here was desolate and full of devastation. There were only desolate mountains and rocks everywhere. There wasn't even any rotten wood. It was as if this place had been destroyed many years ago. Although Yi Qinghan had spared the lives of the insane sect and some of the people from the endless star system, he had indeed destroyed a world. Sigh. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but sigh. Stepping into the forest of the past and entering the primal chaos continent, there was no trace of life. Even the traces of the rivers and mountains were about to disappear. His sorrow when facing Swanpatin was definitely not an act, it was genuine. The world he protected was destroyed by his own hands. How could he not be sad? Along the way, Yi Qinghan looked at the chaotic world. Everything here could not return to the past. The chaotic world in his own world was just an illusion. The group of people from the insane sect also came this far because of the illusion. After all, it was not the real chaotic world. Their feelings and people didn't change, but his own state of mind was changing. He felt guilty towards those people. Asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh. Asterisk the wind blew and rolled up the dust that filled the space. It was hard to open one's eyes. Yi Qinghan followed the primal chaos world all the way to the endless star system. This place had also become a dead planet. There was no trace of life. Everything could not be reversed. Everything is unknown. This might not be the end of the primal chaos world. Maybe it is just the beginning? The divine bird jumped out with sadness. Yi Qinghan revealed a bitter smile and arrived at Owl Falls Star in a flash. The 100,000 mountains had already been eroded into nothingness. The laws and order of reincarnation here had also been changed. It had completely disappeared and no traces of the past could be found. Yi Qinghan scooped up a handful of powder and blew it away with the wind. The dead are gone. Master, we should go find Xianzhe now. Considering Potion's injuries, it won't be long before he recovers. We need to make preparations in advance. This is our last chance, the divine bird reminded. Yi Qinghan nodded. The nine-world sky was very big. He also didn't know where Xianzhe escaped to. However, it was very likely that he went to the Shen race or the Yin-Yang race. These two races could make Swanpatin feel apprehensive. Only these two places could be safe. However, Yi Qinghan didn't know where these two races were. Even Swanpatin didn't know. Yi Qinghan quickly left the primal chaos world. Although the nine-world sky was big, there weren't many places where the Yin-Yang race and the Shen race could hide. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Qinghan brought the divine bird into the great wilderness. The first place they searched was the poisonous miasma. The cultivation of the person in the miasma was also very terrifying. At the very least, he was extremely vicious. It wouldn't be a problem for him to sneak attack and kill a realm lord. Yi Qinghan was prepared to gather everyone he could to kill Swanpatin. The mist in the miasma was still the same. However, it seemed to have become thicker. It gradually spread outwards and completely covered the entrance of the valley. Boom! Yi Qinghan lightly stomped his foot and a force rushed into the valley. Not long later, the terrifying wild ghost appeared. His face was filled with anger and killing intent. Seeing that it was Yi Qinghan, he actually revealed a terrifying smile for the first time. So, it's you. The wild ghost's voice was hoarse and sharp. It made one's scalp numb. When he laughed, it gave one goosebumps. He said, "Thank you for your secret technique. It allowed me to control some changes in the temperature. However, I can't change the temperature in a large area." Yi Qinghan looked at the changes in the wild ghost. He was indeed a little stronger. However, there weren't many changes. He thought to himself, this poisonous creature probably isn't very smart. It can be controlled, no problem. However, I hope you can answer a few of my questions. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The wild ghost nodded. Where is the west of the miasma? Are there other races living there? Yi Qinghan looked towards the west of the valley. It was filled with mist. It was extremely vicious. He didn't want to go in. It's the world's barrier. It's the end of the world. The wild ghost didn't hide anything and quickly said, "Do you know where the yin-yang race and the Shen race came from?" Yi Qinghan asked again. The wild ghost was stunned. It wasn't clear whether it was the poisonous creature or the wild ghost that was thinking. After thinking for a long time, he muttered, "Yin-yang Shen Qian Kuan, the universe gives birth to desolation." So familiar, Yi Qinghan frowned. This was the first time he had heard of this. However, Swan Padian had said this before. However, at that time, he was in his paradise. Yin-yang Shen Qian Kuan, the universe gives birth to desolation? What does that mean? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. The wild ghost seemed like he really couldn't remember. He shook his head and said, "It's too long ago. I can't remember." Yi Qinghan didn't ask any more questions. He demonstrated the essence of fire in front of the wild ghost. Then, his eyes flashed and he said calmly, "Actually, if you want to control fire and temperature, the fastest way is to have a strand of fire in your body. You saved my brother first. Now, help me answer my questions. If you want the essence of fire, I can give you a strand. The new book is just for everyone to collect. I will finish the old book first and then quickly update the new one. Everyone, remember to go to QQ Red to collect. Just search for Dodo who was punished to stand still." Chapter 1567. The savage did not have much intelligence left, and he wanted to control the temperature of the world. When Yi Qinghan proposed to give him a strand of fire origin, he accepted without hesitation. Greed was like fire, and without control, it would start a prairie fire. Yi Qinghan gave him the flame of greed and injected a strand of the flame origin into the wild ghost's body, turning it into a hidden poisonous wolf. Once it erupted, the wild ghost's life would no longer be his. This strand of fire origin is harmless. As long as you concentrate on comprehending it, the temperature of the world will be controlled by you sooner or later. I hope you can help me with something when the time comes." Yi Qinghan smiled. "Ha, no problem, just tell me." The savage replied straightforwardly. "Let's work together to kill someone. His name is Swan Padian, and he is very strong. He is twice as strong as me. As long as you are willing to help, I can easily kill him with the help of another person." Yi Qinghan said indifferently, "Swan Padian?" The savage's heart was suddenly filled with anger. His killing intent soared to the sky as he stared at Yi Qinghan with a ferocious expression. Yi Qinghan was quite surprised. It seemed like this savage really hated Swan Padian. Could it be that he also had a grudge against him? "I have a grudge against him." The savage's eyes flashed coldly as he roared in a low voice. Yi Qinghan was somewhat suspicious of the savage's identity. If he had a grudge against Swan Padian, his identity would definitely not be ordinary. If he was not poisoned, his intelligence would not be so low. "Since you have a grudge against him, I will not say much. You should quickly comprehend the fire origin. I will not disturb you and will take my leave." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he cupped his fists and left. After Yi Qinghan left, he quickly rushed to the Great Wasteland World. He sat cross-legged on the Great Wasteland Palace and used his divine sense to explore his own world. There was a small part of the world formed in Yi Qinghan's mind that was completely based on the model of the Chaos World. Yi Qinghan had set up an illusion that allowed the crazy sex people to survive, but not Emperor Yi and Lin Wutian. Everyone else had survived. However, after this illusion, Yi Qinghan could see that Lin Wutian was not dead. Therefore, the illusion of Lin Wutian living in this era immediately collapsed. Two people could not appear in the same era at the same time. Emperor Yi was different. Her soul had already been destroyed. No matter what method was used, it was impossible to preserve her soul. With a thought, Yi Qinghan entered the world. Here, Yin and Yang were in harmony. It was similar to the world of Yin Child, but the essence was far inferior. Jiang Jingtian, Gu Qingyu, and the others were hiding in his world. Even the non-human kind had been brought into his world. The moment Yi Qinghan appeared, everyone immediately came forward to greet him. "Have you found Yin Child?" Gu Qingyu immediately asked. Yi Qinghan shook his head and replied, "It's hard to find. If it was easy, even Patian would have found it long ago." However, Yi Qinghan did not want to affect their mood. He quickly said, "Don't worry. If I can't find it, even Padian won't be able to find it. You guys can cultivate in peace. My world can at least withstand the appearance of 4 realm lords. As long as one of you breaks through to the realm lord realm, I have the confidence to defeat him." Di Longtian, Tong Tong, and the others restrained their emotions. They clenched their fists and secretly swore to break through to the realm lord realm. However, they were still too far away from the realm lord realm. Yi Qinghan looked at the children and patted Tong Tong and Di Longtian's shoulders. Then he exited the world. Whooshed like a rainbow, Yi Qinghan left the great wasteland world and entered the snow country's divine world. At this moment, the 9 worlds heavens was in a mess. Everyone was in a state of panic. Even the 4 realm lords had fled. Yi Qinghan slowly walked in the 9 worlds heavens, comprehending the 9 worlds heavens. His divine sense expanded infinitely, feeling the boundless 9 worlds heavens. At this moment, he finally understood how powerful Padian was. He could actually divide the 9 worlds heavens into 9 great worlds and create a new world barrier. You can divide the 9 worlds heavens, but you can't control the entire 9 worlds heavens. At the very least, you can't control the Yin-Yang race and the Shen race. You can't control the blessed lands, the heavenly caves, and the world pagoda. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself, recalling the words that Wild Ghost unconsciously said. Yin-Yang Shen Shen Kuan, the universe gives birth to the primordial chaos. Yi Qinghan frowned and pondered for a long time. He still couldn't understand the true meaning of this sentence. Inzi said that her name is Yin-Yang Xianzai, and Xiansan's surname is Xian. It's obvious that third madam's surname is Yin-Yang. Yi Qinghan muttered and looked up at the sky. What was the relationship between this Chen Kun world and the Yin-Yang race and the Shen race? The sky was blue. The divine world was no longer a world of gods. The strong had migrated and were preparing to live in seclusion in the mountains, no longer appearing in the world. Yi Qinghan's people were constantly migrating in all directions. Some children were crying, some women were cursing, and resentment filled the air. In war, the weak would always suffer. Only the strong could erupt in war. Yi Qinghan's heart was like a boulder. He could even bear to destroy the great wasteland world and the chaos world, let alone these 9 worlds heavens where he had no sense of belonging. However, these people were no longer of much use to his cultivation. He wouldn't kill the innocent. I wonder where Xian went? Yi Qinghan looked around. He searched the entire snow country and the divine world with his divine sense but couldn't find any traces of Jing Wei. However, Jing Wei shouldn't have left the snow country and the divine world. The only place where she could hide was the northern border snowfield. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan shot into the northern border snowfield. This was where the great desolate prison had hidden in the past. The cold air here was oppressive. His divine sense was suppressed. Yi Qinghan searched everywhere and finally found a trace of life. Xian, come out. Yi Qinghan looked into the depths and said in a deep voice. Sure enough, Jing Wei stuck her head out of a cave and looked at Yi Qinghan. Her eyes were filled with guilt and sorrow. Father, I'm sorry. I caused the death of Imperial Ant. Jing Wei squatted in the snow and said hoarsely. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and suppressed his sorrow. He came to Jing Wei's side and said gently, this has nothing to do with you. Since Sui Padian wanted to kill your Imperial Ant, even I might not be able to stop him. What more you? However, Jing Wei didn't think so. She felt that Emperor Ye's death was because of her. If it wasn't for him covering for her, she wouldn't have been killed by the 4 realm lords. Father needs your help. You're the daughter of Saint Bai's and I. You have great luck. Help me find the Yin-Yang race and Shen race. I need Yin Xian's help to defeat Sui Padian. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yin-Yang Shen race? Jing Wei asked in surprise. Yi Qinghan was startled and asked, yes. Do you know about these 2 races? Are you talking about Yin-Yang Shen Shenkuan and the universe giving birth to chaos? Jing Wei didn't answer and continued to ask. Yi Qinghan said firmly. Jing Wei shook her head and said, I heard this sentence in the void ocean. The general meaning is, Yin Yang Xian is a natural god. They control Yin Yang Xian Qianquan and evolved the universe. They also gave birth to chaos. They use the Yin Yang Xian technique to deduce the laws of the world. Yi Qinghan's pupils constricted. He suddenly thought of Sui Patin and shouted, "Not good. Sui Patin should also be a natural god like Yin Yang Xian. Yin Zian is in danger." Chapter 1568. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Since Swan Patin knew the Yin Yang technique and could deduce the world, it was very likely that he was from the Yin Yang race. Even if he wasn't Yangzi, he was still a terrifying existence. Since he was from the Yin Yang race, he should be able to find where they lived. Shua. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and kept the elite guards into his world, but summoned Zixin out. "Zixin, cooperate with me. Use your race's forbidden technique to help me track Swan Potion's location. He will bring me to the Yin Yang race's location." Yi Qinghan said urgently. Zixin shook her head. "With my ability, I can't track Swan Potion's location. The difference is too big. I have his blood." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a drop of vigorous essence blood. It was the blood that Swan Patin left on the Great Wasteland's tablet when he was injured. Yi Qinghan put it away. Zixin still shook her head and said confidently, "I can't do that either. At most, I can track a fake Sector Lord level person." Yi Qinghan was impatient. Right now, saving people was like putting out a fire. If Swan Patin swallowed Xuanz's power, even 100 of him wouldn't be able to beat Swan Patin. Our yin-yang connection. With that, Yi Qinghan grabbed Zixian's jade-like hand domineeringly. His soul entered Zixian's sea of consciousness and became one with her soul. Their souls became one. Yi Qinghan and Zixian were like one person at this moment. Their soul barriers were broken through. Yin-yang technique, blood contract, origin appear. Track. Yi Qinghan and Zixian's fingers interlocked and continuously formed seals. Swan Potion's essence blood shone brightly in the sky, revealing Swan Potion's figure. In the direction of the boundary tower, Yi Qinghan pulled Zixian towards the world tower. Yi Qinghan could see Swan Potion's every move clearly. Through Zixian's purple eyes, Yi Qinghan watched Swan Patin pass through the world barrier from behind the world tower. Suddenly, Swan Potion's eyebrows twitched as if he had discovered that he was being followed. He couldn't help but look around in astonishment, but he didn't notice anything. Swan Patin waved his hand, and a black copper coin appeared in the air, revealing Yi Qinghan's position. Swan Patin snorted coldly. "She actually used a drop of this old man's blood to track my location. It seems like this woman can't be left alive." Calculating Heaven's killing intent shot out in all directions. He then waved his hand to reverse time and space, concealing the 10,000 mysteries. Buzzed the drop of essence blood in Yi Qinghan's right hand instantly shattered, turning into a bloody mist that dissipated. The trajectory of the calculation in Zixian's eyes suddenly became blurry. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan turned into a stream of light that flashed past, crossing the various worlds and rushing towards the world tower. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Swan Potion's speed was even faster. He followed the world barrier and broke through the fog at extreme speed, rushing towards the extreme north. At this moment, the two were racing against time. They both wanted to reach the Yin-Yang Xian race's gathering place one step ahead. One wanted to kill, the other wanted to save. At this moment, there was an island floating above the extreme north world that looked like a fairyland. Many people were riding on the clouds, unaware of the suffering of the human world. Swan Patin knew that this was the gathering place of the Yin-Yang Xian race. There were about 1 million people, all of whom were members of the Yin-Yang race. There were many experts here, all of whom could use Yin-Yang to deduce the world. They didn't want to be contaminated by the secular world. Since the birth of mankind, they had withdrawn from the stage of history. If it weren't for Xianzhe wanting to break the shackles of cultivation, Swan Patin probably wouldn't have come back to find them. The main hall of the Yin-Yang Xian race was golden and dazzling. Celestial qi lingered around it, and a waterfall fell from the sky. Many things that broke the norm appeared here. There was a floating island, a waterfall in the sky, and millions of floating coffins surrounded the bottom of the island. Occasionally, children would fly into the sky. In the main hall, a few white-haired old men were using the oldest shells to divine. Their faces were getting paler and paler because they couldn't see where the Yin-Yang Xian race's vitality was. A great disaster is coming, the catastrophe can't be stopped. Sigh, our Yin-Yang Xian race has been here since the birth of the primitive world. We have never come out. Why does the heavens want to end our race? The white-haired old man in the lead sighed in despair. Can you deduce who did it? Why did the catastrophe happen? Another old man frowned and asked. The old man in the lead had a transcendent aura. At this moment he was also furious. He slammed the table and scolded, "Who else could it be other than that unfilial son? Is it Yangzi? Did he come for Yinzi?" The rest of the old men immediately stood up in panic. Yinzi's world was the most perfect. Yin and Yang were harmonious. It was even more advanced than the 9 worlds. However, Yangzi Swanpatian was different. His world was a pure Yang world. Without the harmony of Yin and Yang, he was destined to not be able to leave the 9 worlds. Even if he could divide the primitive world into 9 big worlds, he couldn't leave the 9 worlds. He should be here for Yinzi Xianzai. He has controlled the 9 worlds for so many years. Now we have nowhere to hide. The old man in the lead sighed. Then what should we do? If he swallowed the Yinzi Dao fruit and combined Yin and Yang, his strength would be heaven-defying. The 4 old men looked at the old man in the lead at the same time and asked in unison. The old man in the lead stepped out of the main hall. He looked at the unpredictable wind and clouds in the sky. A faint sense of danger was gathering. He waved his hand and said to everyone, "Xian Fei, escort Yinzi away. The rest of you stay here and fight with that unfilial son to the death." The old man's attitude was firm. Those who stayed would definitely die because there was no chance of survival. However, no one refuted him. They were unafraid of death. They only hoped that the Yin-Yang race wouldn't be exterminated. Let Yinzi take away all the elite seeds. The old man gazed into the distance. He found that the laws of heaven were changing. The crisis was clearly visible. It's too late. Xian Fei, take Xianzai away. The old man in the lead shouted. Hua! Great ancestor, take care. Xiao, a white-haired old man, quickly rushed to the center of the floating island. He waved his hand and swept away close to 100 people. He turned into a stream of light and rushed into the distance. Leave Yinzi behind and I'll spare your lives. Boom. Xiao xiao xiao, an angry roar resounded through the clouds. Swanpatian soared into the sky and smashed his palm towards the floating island. However, the countless coffins floating below actually blocked the attack. The floating island didn't move at all. The energy pressed down. Countless houses and palaces collapsed. The immortal realm became a land of death. Weak people were constantly crushed by the energy. Miserable screams could be heard. Adat, the old man in the lead, was furious. He waved his hand and shot a shell into the sky. Yin-Yang laws, cover. Huadat, a light screen rushed into the sky and blocked the huge palm. It collided with Swanpatian. Boom boom boom. Wang wang wang. In an instant, the floating island began to tremble. Cracks appeared on the island and blood flowed like a river. Millions of Yin-Yang Xian race members were born as gods. However, at this moment, under Swanpotion's attack, they were turned into a pile of flesh and blood. Countless casualties. Chapter 1569. Boom, boom, boom. The land above the floating island was torn apart, but the island itself didn't. Bang. Bodies exploded one after another, and blood flowed like a river. Bunch of old things, you don't know what's good for you. Give me the Yinzi, and I can make the Yin-Yang Xian race my father, and I can give you eternal life. Swanpatian was furious, and he kept smashing his hand at the light screen, forcing the white-haired old men to retreat. You bastard, you will get your retribution. The leading old man roared. Swanpatian was even angrier, and he shouted, You old bastards, always going against me. I didn't want to be calculative with you, and I took care of my people when they went out to train. I never exposed my identity, but you always go against me. If you listen to me, the Yin-Yang Shen race would have broken the sky and entered a new realm. Since you don't want to, then I will destroy you. Boom. Bush, bush, bush. The black copper coin was filled with evil and destructive chi, and it broke the light screen and attacked the floating island. 7 stars sky, shatter mountains and rivers. Boom. The light screen broke and the floating island shook. A shockwave blasted the white-haired old man away, and the leading white-haired old man was pierced by a black copper coin. His chi and blood were scattered, and the luster of his body dimmed. He flew backward and landed on the square of the palace. Bang! The white-haired old man's eyes widened, and he struggled to stand up, but the black copper coin flew back and pierced his heart, and he fell to the ground. You bastard! How dare you kill a clan elder? Heaven will kill you! The rest of the white-haired old men roared and attacked Swanpatian. Since you love him so much, you can die too. The Yin-Yang Shen race is under my control. Boom! Swanpatian flipped his hand, and a shockwave shot up into the sky. The black copper coin turned into a sharp blade and pierced their sea of consciousness. Bush, bush. The shockwave spread out in all directions of the floating island, flattening countless palaces and rooms. There were broken limbs everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. You are all trash. As long as you hand over the son of Yin, you can let the millions of Yin-Yang Shen race live forever. But you still want to go against me. If you don't die, who will? Songpatian roared ferociously and kicked away a white-haired corpse. Then he chased after Xian Fei. Whoosh! Swanpatian disappeared from the floating island in the blink of an eye. Almost all the creatures on the island were killed by the shockwaves. Some of them didn't even have their bones intact. Half a day later, a figure teleported over. It was Yi Qinghan and Zixin. Find out if there are any survivors. Ask where Xian Zhe fled in. Yi Qinghan let go of Zixin and rushed into the palace. When he passed by the corpse of the Yin-Yang Shen race clan elder, his pants were suddenly grabbed by a large hand. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Just as he was about to crush the corpse, he stopped when he saw the old man's expression. Senior, is this the work of the heaven-crushing art? Yi Qinghan hurriedly injected some yin and yang energy into the old man's body to prolong his life. It's that bastard. Sir, you chased after him? The old man kept coughing up blood. Blood flowed out of his orifices as his life force disappeared from his chest. I want to save the son of Yin, Xian Zhe. Senior, where did they go? Yi Qinghan asked anxiously. The old man's eyes lit up. He hurriedly grabbed Yi Qinghan's hand and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. He said to Yi Qinghan, if you want to kill Swanpatian, you have to lure him into the realm tower. That place shields heaven's secrets. He can't go against heaven's will. Floating coffin. Remember, floating coffin. Bang. The old man no longer had any strength to struggle. His head drooped and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. Yi Qinghan let go of the old man's hand. In the end, he didn't ask for Xian Zhe's location. However, he knew how to kill Swanpatian. As for the secrets of the floating coffin, he was a bit confused. Zixin, let's go down and see what secrets there are in the floating coffin. Yi Qinghan jumped down from the floating island and looked at the densely packed floating coffins. All of them were suspended in the air. The coffins were sealed and looked exactly the same from the outside. There were at least 100,000 floating coffins. With a thought, Yi Qinghan summoned everyone from the insane sect. Open the floating coffins. Be careful. We don't know what's inside. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. With that, Yi Qinghan personally opened a floating coffin and found it empty. Bang, 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 bang. Boom. One by one, the floating coffins were opened. They were all empty. There wasn't even a corpse. However, for some reason, they could float in the air. Everyone quickly divided the floating coffins and opened them one after another. The 100,000 floating coffins were all opened in a few hours. Only one of the floating coffins contained a corpse. It was an old man in a white robe. His hair was white and his skin was still glossy. His hands were crossed and pressed on his stomach as if he was asleep. Yi Qinghan looked at the corpse for a long time. Then he reached out and touched the old man's clothes pocket, waist, and all the way to his chest. He found something hard on his chest. He took it out and saw that it was a metal scroll. When he opened it, there were 4 big words written on it. The record of Yin Yang. The heavens have decreed, all laws are natural. Fate belongs to Bai Zhe. The law is Yin and Yang. Heavenly beasts stand in all directions. Yin and Yang deduce, order returns. Those who defy the order will be punished by the heavens. A large amount of history was recorded in the record of Yin Yang. Most of it had never been leaked. It also contained the secret technique of the Yin Yang race to deduce the order of all things. Swan Potion's secret technique came from the record of Yin Yang. However, he was expelled by the clan elder before he could comprehend the last chapter of the record. Swan Potion wanted to defy the heavens and stand above the heavens. He wanted to enslave all things and become the Father God. He wanted to create the strongest world and destroy the 9 worlds. However, the heavens couldn't do anything to him. Yi Qinghan flipped to the last chapter. It was the Supreme Reincarnation chapter. It was full of runes and was difficult to understand. Just looking at it made one's soul tired. It was extremely painful, not to mention comprehending it. After comprehending the true Supreme Reincarnation, one would be able to create a complete world. Only then would one be able to live and die like the 9 worlds. There was no eternal existence and no eternal destruction. Boom! Just as Yi Qinghan was absent-mindedly looking at the Supreme Reincarnation chapter, Swan Potion actually came back and slammed his palm on the floating island. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took everyone from the insane sect into his world. However, it was too late to dodge. The record of Yin Yang shone brightly and a ray of light shot toward Swan Potion. Bang! Swan Potion was sent flying by the record of Yin Yang, but Yi Qinghan was also sent flying. He retreated a few hundred steps and almost crushed the floating island. Swan Potion stabilized himself and coldly looked at the record of Yin Yang in Yi Qinghan's hand. He reached out and said, "Return my race's treasure to me and I'll spare your life." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He put away the record of Yin Yang and summoned frenzy to confront Swan Potion. "Return the record of Yin Yang to me, or don't blame me for destroying you today." Swan Potion scolded again. Yi Qinghan coldly snorted and said with disdain, "If you can destroy me, why are you still talking nonsense with me? If you want the record of Yin Yang, it's simple. Give me Yinzi, Xuanzi and Lin Wutin in exchange." Chapter 1570. Song Potion sneered. If he had the Yinzi Shenzai, with his Yang-Zi special physique, why would he need the Yin Yang record? I didn't kill that little bastard. He ruined my plans. I will torture him for eternity. He can't die even if he wants to. Song Potion roared coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He hated the Yin Yang Xian race clan elder. A bunch of old men. The whole world is against me. You'd rather give the Yin Yang record to an outsider than me. Boom! Song Potion suddenly rushed up and kicked the clan elder who was lying at the entrance of the hall. He shattered the body into a bloody mist. Song Potion was furious. He roared, "All of you are against me. I want the Yin Yang Xian race to control the world and work hard for our race's eternal existence. But all of you are stopping me. I'm not even as good as an outsider." Yi Qinghan watched Song Potion shatter more than 10 corpses like a madman. His 5 fingers tightly gripped the hilt of his heavy saber. A cold light flashed as he looked for a chance to attack. But Song Potion quickly calmed down. His eyes glowed red as he said hoarsely, "Give me the Yin Yang record and I'll give you that little bastard." Yi Qinghan sneered, "You think I can trust you?" Song Potion said with even more disdain, "How can I trust you? In order to survive, you can even destroy the Chaos world. You're much more vicious than me. You and I are not to be outdone. I destroyed the Chaos world, but you destroyed the Yin Yang Xian race. I had no choice but to do it. You did it to vent your anger." Yi Qinghan said angrily. The two didn't trust each other because they were both very vicious. In order to achieve great things, they would rather crush thousands of bones. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Song Potion's eyes were red. His killing intent soared. He waved his hand and tore Lin Wutin out of his world. However, Lin Wutian was tortured beyond recognition and was currently unconscious. Do you want to exchange? I'll only ask this once. Song Padian asked sternly. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. If Lin Wutian died, he really wouldn't be able to come back. The Chaos World was already destroyed. Emperor Yi wouldn't be able to come back. He obviously didn't want to harm Lin Wutian for a secret technique. Shua. The yin-yang record appeared in his hand. It contained the power of the heavens. The owner of the record. The yin-yang record control the 9 worlds. If you take it, I'll save Lin Wutian. But if you take it, I Lin. But this is a trade. If you take it, I. But if you take the record, save Lin Wutian. If you take it, Wutian. S. Padian. To kill Lin Wutian. Hope you don't cheat. Song Padian scolded. He then took out 7 copper coins from Lin Wutian's body. They weren't black. Lin Wutian's life force was slowly awakening. Shua. Both of them retreated. 100 miles was enough for them to react. They were only 100 miles away from the floating island. But if they put Lin Wutian and the yin-yang record in the east and west, the distance would be too far. Song Padian didn't dare to play any tricks. If he killed Lin Wutian, he wouldn't have the chance to take the record. After 3 counts, send them together. But 1, 2, 3. Shua, shua. Yi Qinghan and Song Padian sent out the yin-yang record and Lin Wutian at the same time. One in the east and one in the west. Shua. Yi Qinghan rushed to the west and reached out to grab Lin Wutian. Song Padian teleported to the east and reached out to grab the yin-yang record. Shua. Amidst the flashes of lightning and thunder, Swan Padian saw the yin-yang record suddenly sink and disappear. He immediately became furious and turned around to unleash a palm towards Yi Qinghan in the west. Thief, you dare to play tricks in front of me. Boom. By the time Swan Potion's palm arrived in front of Yi Qinghan had already swept Lin Wutian away. With a somersault, Yi Qinghan rushed to the bottom of the floating island and seized the ultimate attack. At this time, the divine bird held the yin-yang record in its mouth and rushed to the west to meet with Yi Qinghan. Boom. Song Padian shattered the floating island with a stomp in an attempt to intercept the divine bird. However, the divine bird relied on its speed and rushed to Yi Qinghan's shoulder at the speed of light. It trembled all over as it cried out, "Oh my God! You scared me to death. You're nothing more than snatching food from a tiger's mouth." Yi Qinghan laughed and rushed to the south from the floating island. Song Padian, this is only a small interest. We still have a lot of grudges to settle. Yi Qinghan's voice echoed behind him, causing Swan Padian to fly into a rage. How could he have known that the divine bird had gone to the eastern hall to search for treasures? The reason why Yi Qinghan chose to throw the yin-yang profound record to the east was definitely because he knew that the divine bird would definitely make a move to snatch it. I'll kill you. Boom, boom. Song Padian rushed to the sky and tore through the void. His palm shattered 10,000 li as he wanted to suppress Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan constantly flashed and tore through the void to escape. Sometimes, he would be blasted out of a different space by Song Padian. He was battered and exhausted, but he saved Lin Wutian and played with Song Padian. He was in a good mood. Song Padian, even if you can calculate the heavens and earth, you still can't calculate this divine bird. Remember, I'll always be your uncle. The divine bird regained its strength and stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, arrogantly scolding. Then, it returned to the bloodline. Song Padian was burning with anger. His blood and qi flowed backward as the anger in his eyes condensed into substance. Ah! Song Padian roared and the 7 copper coins simultaneously blocked Yi Qinghan's path. He was determined to kill him with one palm and turn the divine bird into ashes. Yi Qinghan tried his best to escape. He was furious that Song Padian was not to be trifled with. However, with his path blocked, it was abnormally difficult. At this time, the divine bird rushed to Yi Qinghan's shoulder and shouted behind Song Padian, "Xianzai, sneak attack his manhood." Song Padian was very excited. He thought that Xianzai was really close, but when he turned around, there was not even half a shadow. When he turned back to glare at the divine bird, Yi Qinghan had already escaped from the encirclement. Xianzhe, run. This son of a bitch wants to catch you. Song Padian, next time you see this divine bird uncle, don't show off your insignificant skills. Otherwise, don't blame me for exposing your true nature as a swindler. The divine bird kept on cursing Song Padian, disrupting his thoughts. Yi Qinghan disappeared at this moment. He was getting closer and closer to the location of the world pagoda. Song Padian suffered a double loss. This was the first time he failed like this. He was tricked by a divine bird and was even humiliated like this. How could he tolerate this? You dare to oppose me? Today I'll wipe you all out. Roar. Song Padian roared towards the sky, deafening to the point of collapse. A wave of air rushed into the interior of the 9 worlds. Chapter 1571. Yi Qinghan fled as fast as lightning, while Swan Padian chased after him frantically, drawing 2 streaks of light in the galaxy. At that moment, 4 figures rushed out of the 9-world sky. They were Divine Lord Jingtian and the other 3 realm lords. They rushed out from the depths, wanting to stop Yi Qinghan. Although these 4 realm lords weren't very strong, they had no problem blocking Yi Qinghan for a while. Swan Padian only needed this little bit of time. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold as he approached the boundary tower. He stared at the 4 streaks of light in the 9-world sky, his eyes filled with killing intent. Do you think I have a chance to kill a realm lord? Yi Qinghan shifted in the direction of the boundary tower. He wasn't in a hurry to enter the boundary tower. Instead, he looked into the depths of the 9-world sky with killing intent. The divine bird looked at Divine Lord Jingtian and then at Swan Padian, who was approaching. It quickly said, "A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Let's hide in the boundary tower first." Swan Padian knows that he can't use his advantage in the boundary tower. As for those 4 trash, they wouldn't dare to chase after you even if you let them in. Yi Qinghan looked at the boundary tower. The door was wide open and there was no obstruction. Although there were only 9 levels, it was hundreds of feet tall. It spiraled upwards, majestic and domineering. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment and decided to enter the boundary tower first. He wanted to see what kind of strange material it was that could stop Swan Padian. Yi Qinghan entered the boundary tower. There was nothing on the first level except for a spiral staircase. It was empty. The material didn't look special, but there was an indescribable profundity spreading. Without a doubt, no one could destroy the boundary tower. Yi Qinghan walked up the stairs to the 2nd level. He realized that with every step, the pressure increased by 30%, suppressing his soul and body. The pressure on the 1st level wasn't great. Yi Qinghan quickly reached the 2nd level. There were a total of 99 steps. According to his speculation, the 1st level could crush an Emperor Realm expert. Thump, thump, thump. The 2nd level still had 99 steps, and the pressure increased sharply. The 2nd floor was strong enough to crush a high god, and on the 3rd floor, there were spirit medicines swaying in the wind. They were giant god-level spirit medicines. On the 3rd level were paramount gods, and on the 4th level were pseudo-realm lords. Yi Qinghan easily reached the 5th level. The stairs on the 5th level had different runes, and the same runes were on the walls as well. They exuded a suppressive aura that covered the heavenly Tao. No one could peek inside. When one's divine senses touched the walls of the realm tower, they felt a piercing pain in their souls. Boom! Yi Qinghan headed towards the 6th level. Only peak-level world overlords could reach this level. Their bodies had to be extremely strong and their will of soul had to be outstanding. If not, they wouldn't even be able to take a single step and would be crushed by the heavenly might. His steps were firm and powerful. It was as if this step contained a force of 1,000,000 pounds, and his shoulders were under endless pressure. Even if Padian had once ascended to the 8th floor, it was clear just how terrifying his battle prowess was. It was still the 99 steps. Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat as he reached the 7th step. Ooh! There was a level 12 divine herb on the 7th level. The divine bird stretched out its claw, wanting to pluck it, but Yi Qinghan hurriedly stopped it. Don't pluck it. I have a premonition that if you dare to pluck it, the pressure on me will instantly increase by several folds. Yi Qinghan said solemnly. The divine bird unwillingly retracted its claw and looked at the divine herb with anticipation. However, it ultimately held back. Yi Qinghan headed towards the 8th level. Boom. Ka-ka-ka. With every step Yi Qinghan took, the pressure on him increased by 30%. All the bones in his body were emitting ear-piercing sounds. Large amounts of sweat pushed out the impurities in his body, and the blood in his body was circulating at a speed that exceeded the limit. The 50th step of the 7th level. Yi Qinghan's legs began to tremble. His soul was almost crushed by the pressure. His eyes were malevolent as he gritted his teeth. Ooh! Boom! Boom boom boom. On the 90th step, Yi Qinghan's blood was boiling. The world in his sea of consciousness was rapidly expanding. The stars flickered and swayed in all directions. Yin and Yang were in harmony. The dragon blood and giant blood burned and intertwined. The surface of his body emitted a faint flame. Ka-ka-ka. His leg bones constantly rubbed against each other. His entire body was sore and powerless. The divine bird was suppressed by the terrifying pressure and did not dare to show its head. If it dared to come out, it would instantly be crushed by the pressure of the boundary tower. There were only 9 steps to successfully reach the 8th level. However, each step was extremely difficult. Without a doubt, this place could crush any sector lord like Divine Lord Righteous Sky. But Swanpatian could reach the 8th level. Outside the boundary tower, Swanpatian and the 4 sector lords were already outside the boundary tower. They saw lights flashing continuously between the 7th and 8th level. Every time Yi Qinghan took a step, the corresponding stairs would emit light. Although they couldn't see it from the inside, they could see it clearly from the outside. Bastard! You can actually reach this step. Swanpatian was furious. The 8th level was his exclusive place. No one could surpass him. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan was constantly surpassing himself. Every step he took, he would rest for a moment. His entire body was aching and blood was seeping out of his body. His soul and body were on the verge of shattering. However, his terrifying willpower was supporting him to continue forward. He was only 1 step away from the 8th level. However, Yi Qinghan was already kneeling on the last step. His waist could not even be straightened. Ooh! Yi Qinghan was panting heavily. His hand was placed on the 8th level, but his legs could not stand up. He could fall down at any moment. Wah wah wah! Above the 9th level, divine light was constantly brushing down. It was as though the 8th level was a forbidden ground. No one could step in. Only a pervert like Yi Qinghan could reach the peak of the 7th level at the Sector Lord realm. He had the giant and desolate bloodlines and could achieve the balance of yin and yang. Otherwise, he would have already been crushed. Roar roar roar. His blood was roaring. Yi Qinghan's body was changing. The flames were getting stronger and stronger. The giant blood cells in his body were surging, strengthening his body and turning him into a 3-meter giant. Boom! Yi Qinghan suddenly stood up and stepped into the 8th level. Slipped outside the realm tower, divine light shone in all directions. The 8th level was lit up and rippled in all directions. No! Damn it! Swanpatian roared. He looked at Yi Qinghan unwillingly. He felt that his forbidden ground was stepped into by Yi Qinghan. It was unforgivable. What should we do? Will he step into the 9th level and obtain the realm spirit grass? Divine Lord Jingtian was panicking. Impossible! He will never dare to step into the 9th level again. Swanpatian was repulsive. Back then, he also did not dare to step into the 9th level. If Yi Qinghan dared to go up, even if it was just 1 step, it meant that his future achievements would surpass him. He would never allow it. As expected, just like what Swanpatian said, the 9th level did not light up for a long time. This meant that Yi Qinghan did not even step into the 9th level. Yi Qinghan sat in the 8th level hall. He looked at the level 13 divine herb and did not dare to pick it. Chapter 1572. Level 13 Pinnacle Divine Medicine. Let's take it and run. The divine bird excitedly flipped around in its body, wanting to take the divine medicine away. Yi Qinghan shook his head. This was the best place to temper one's body. If they left, they wouldn't have the chance to come back up. Besides, Swanpatian was still waiting below. Would they still be alive if they ran out? I want to go to the 9th level, Yi Qinghan said firmly. The divine bird was going crazy. If they were about to die on the 8th level, wouldn't the 9th level crush them into powder? Let's think about it again. There are many ways to kill Swanpatian. There's no need to joke with your life. If you really can't do it, you can help me get out before you come back up? The divine bird said anxiously. It's not that exaggerated. I know what I'm doing. Yi Qinghan slowly stood up and took a step toward the 9th level. Boom! The boundary tower rumbled. Its aura was dense, and its divine light was boundless. Outside, Swanpatian was burning with anger. His limit had been broken by Yi Qinghan. I can't let you live today. Swan Potion's cold light flashed, and countless copper coins appeared in all directions. 7 stars locking heaven. Swanpatian set up the 7 stars locking heaven array outside the boundary tower. As long as Yi Qinghan walked out of the boundary tower, he would be killed without a doubt. Boom! Boom! The boundary tower was trembling. Its aura crazily pressed down, trying to blast Yi Qinghan out of the boundary tower. The top of the boundary tower forbade all living beings from stepping on it. Otherwise, they would be punished by the heavens. Boom! Crack! Crack! When Yi Qinghan stepped onto the first step of the 9th level, what rushed down from the top was no longer the heavens. Instead, it was dense white lightning that tore his body apart. How could a body of flesh and blood be compared to lightning? This kind of lightning was fundamentally different from the lightning in the outside world. The lightning here was destructive and destructive. It rushed into Yi Qinghan's body like a hot knife through butter. Yi Qinghan roared. Blood spurted out. His chest, arms, and legs were all pierced. The tearing pain made him want to roar to vent his anger. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Yi Qinghan steadied himself on the first step. Hoo-hoo! Yi Qinghan was panting like a dog. Inside the realm pagoda, even the strongest person had to curl up like a dog. Otherwise, they would be killed by the heavens. At this moment, Swanpatian and the others, who were even more nervous than Yi Qinghan, looked up at the boundary tower. The first step of the 9th level had clearly lit up. Yi Qinghan had found his footing. Absolutely impossible. Even if he defies the heavens, it's impossible for him to take another step. Swanpatian held his breath, clenched his fists, and stared at the top of the tower. Divine Lord Jingtian and the others were shocked. If they had known this would happen, they would not have destroyed the great desolate domain. At this moment, a figure appeared from afar. Her sword Qi towered up into the sky as her white robes fluttered in the wind. She held a divine sword in her hand and actually had the aura of a world overlord. Night Demon Divine King and the others turned to look, their eyes filled with indescribable emotions. Jian Bugue. Even though she wasn't a world overlord, her aura was different from others. Her sharp sword Qi made people feel that if the sword was unsheathed, it would not return until the enemy was destroyed. Jian Bugue, what are you doing here? Swanpatian looked at Jian Bugue coldly and asked coldly. I'm here to take a look. If I didn't interfere back then, I won't interfere in this life. Jian Bugue's voice was like the sound of nature. His face was valiant and looked very clean. He gave people a feeling that they could not help but like him. Where are the survivors of the great desolate domain that you took away back then? Leave them to me. Swanpatian said sternly. Jian Bugue shook his head and said softly, Senior, why do you have to be so aggressive? Since I took them away, they are my children. I won't interfere. Senior, please don't force me to interfere. With just you? You're just an ant. If I want to destroy you, do you think they will protect you? Swanpatian looked at Divine Lord Jingtian and the others and sneered in disdain. Divine Lord Jingtian and the others' expression changed slightly. They looked at Swanpatian with dissatisfaction. They were afraid of Yi Qinghan but not Swanpatian. After all, they were not enemies. Jian Bugue smiled and looked at Divine Lord Jingtian and the others with all his might. He shook his head helplessly and said, "If they had the guts to fight against someone stronger than them, I would not have been alone for so many years. I have traveled the 8 realms for so many years, relying on myself and the sword in my hand. Swanpodin, I know you are very powerful, but you don't want to be surrounded by enemies, right?" This time, the 4 world overlords' expression became even uglier. Jian Bugui was clearly saying that they were cowards. Jian Bugui's tone was full of warning. Even though she wasn't a world overlord, it wasn't because she wasn't strong enough. It was because there could only be 8 world overlords in the 9 worlds. Her strength was enough. Now that 3 world overlords had died, if she wanted to become a world overlord, it would only take a thought. World overlords can't threaten my safety. You guys better cooperate with me to kill Huang today. Otherwise, you will realize that the 9 worlds no longer exist. Swanpodian warned coldly. Jian Bugui smiled silently. His fingers moved the sword hilt as he asked indifferently, "Since world overlords can't threaten Senior, why do you need us to cooperate with you to kill a world overlord?" Swan Potion's eyes became colder and colder. He stared at Jian Bugui with killing intent. However, Divine Lord Jingtian and the others didn't want Swanpodian to take action. After all, he had liked her for so many years. If he didn't protect her, wouldn't it be like what she said? They were cowards? Boom. The second step of the 9th level was stepped on. Light shone in all directions and broke the atmosphere below the world tower. Boom boom boom. Wah wah wah. The world tower shone brightly and created a strange phenomenon. Countless lightning covered Yi Qinghan and wanted to push him back to the 8th level. Boom. Yi Qinghan stepped on 2 steps and reached the 4th step. The world tower was ferocious. The world spirit grass on the 9th level was filled with the profound laws. It was as if one could see the fate of heaven just by looking at the world spirit grass. Yi Qinghan smiled and allowed the lightning to strike him. "My fate is in my own hands. I won't go against you, but don't suppress me." Instead of being enslaved by Swanpodian who has no bottom line and principles, why don't you let me control the 9 worlds? Yi Qinghan roared and became more determined. He rushed to the top step by step and broke new heights. The 5th step, the 6th step. In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinghan rushed to the 20th step. Blood flowed and dyed the world tower red. Gulp. The 6 experts below the world tower swallowed their saliva. They were stunned by Yi Qinghan's madness. Blood flowed from the top of the world tower all the way out. The blood essence burned and ignited the entire world tower. "Maybe we don't have to do anything. The world tower can kill him," Divine Lord Jingtian said expectantly. Swanpodian smiled coldly and nodded secretly. If Yi Qinghan died in the world tower, everyone would be happy. However, it was a pity that the Yin-Yang mysterious record was still in his hands. He still has the same temper. A lunatic will always be a lunatic. Maybe this is the only way to reach the peak. Jian Bugui was dejected. Even if she was as beautiful as a flower, she still felt ashamed of her inferiority in front of Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1573. Tension filled the air. Swanpodian was afraid that Yi Qinghan would reach the 9th level, and so were the 4 sector lords. However, Jian Bugui was afraid that Yi Qinghan would be crushed to death by the realm tower. The terrifying heavenly might had already penetrated the realm tower and pressed down on the 9 worlds. Dense lightning flashed and dark clouds covered the sky. Night Demon Deity King, enter the realm tower and make it explode with even more power. Crush desolation inside. Swanpodian looked coldly at Night Demon Deity King and ordered. Night Demon Deity King was shocked. If Yi Qinghan was crushed to death, how could he escape? "Why aren't you going in?" Night Demon Deity King took a few steps back and questioned. "Swanpodian, who do you think we are? Ants that you can kill as you please? Cannon fodder for you?" Jian Bugui asked in a deep voice. "It's none of your business. You said you wouldn't interfere. Don't blame me for being impolite if you continue to talk." Swanpodian warned coldly. Shwa. The 4 sector lords immediately retreated and faced Jian Bugui with their swords drawn. "Swanpodian, you can treat the world as ants, but don't treat us as fools." Divine Lord Righteous Sky said angrily. Swanpodian was furious. He knew that Jian Bugue was up to no good. However, he was secretly regretting it. There was no need to let the 4 sector lords enter the realm tower personally. This would offend them instead. Swanpodian frowned and carefully pondered for a moment. His world didn't have any experts, and even the gods couldn't be born. However, it was much better than the people of the 4 realm lords. The substances in the 4 realm lords' worlds didn't necessarily have spirituality, so they couldn't be counted on. Do you want to kill Desolation? If he gets the realm spirit grass, the first to die will be the 4 of you. Don't trust Jian Bugue too much. She only wants to help Desolation, not you. If she drives a wedge between you and Desolation enters the realm tower, we won't be able to do anything. Swanpodian reminded coldly. Divine Lord Jingtian and company hesitated as they turned to look at Jian Bugue. They were suspicious of his motives. Jian Bugue shook his head with a bitter smile and said, I, Dao friends, appreciate your many years of affection. Even if I am not willing to become dual cultivation companions, I still treat you as friends. I don't want you all to be used by Swanpodian. In the end, you and Desolation both sides will suffer, and then the fishermen will benefit. If you all trust Swanpodian, then just pretend that I didn't come today. Lord Jingtian and the others felt embarrassed, guilty, and regretful. They wanted to say something, but they didn't know what to say. How could they have the face to pursue others if they doubted their goddess like this? Fairy of no return, please don't overthink it. We believe in you. Divine Lord Jingtian said righteously. I believe you too. This bitch actually treats me as cannon fodder. Does she really think that she is the master of heaven and earth? Night Demon God King angrily cursed while pointing at Swanpodian. Swanpodian was so angry that his beard was blowing and his eyes were glaring. He really wanted to slap the 5 people in front of him to death. However, none of them were people to be trifled with. With 5 experts working together, even if he could win, he would have to pay a certain price. If Yi Qinghan coincidentally appeared, then it would be hard to say who would live and who would die. Good. Swanpodian was flustered and exasperated. He pointed at the 4 realm lords and scolded, since you all don't want to kill Desolation, then this old man won't kill him either. Let's see if Jian Bugue can save your lives from his hands. A bunch of ignorant things. After saying that, Swanpodian pretended to leave the realm tower. The 4 realm lords' expressions immediately turned ugly. Wait, Swanpodian, the hatred between us and Desolation is irreversible. Although we killed Emperor Yi, it was also because of your guidance. You also caused him to erase the Chaos World. I'm afraid your hatred for him is even deeper than ours. If you leave now, aren't you giving Desolation Lord a chance to become stronger? Righteous Heaven Lord's expression was ugly. At this moment, he didn't want to be cannon fodder and also wanted to accept Jian Bugue's favor. He also wanted to kill Yi Qinghan, so he could only borrow Swanpotion's hand. Now you all remember the hatred between you and Desolation? This old man wants to remind you that if I die, when you all fight Desolation to the death, will Jian Bugue help you? Swanpodian sneered and asked. Jian Bugue said firmly, I will do my best to resolve this grudge. It's better than letting an unprincipled villain like you take charge. Swanpodian stared at Jian Bugue, his eyes filled with killing intent. Unfortunately, the 4 realm lords weren't willing to let him kill them. Honged just as the quarrel outside was endless, a rumbling sound came from above the realm tower. The ground shook as if there was an earthquake. Dark clouds covered the sky and lightning shot out from the thick clouds, lighting up the world. Inda-hua-hua-hua. Rolling heavenly might pressed down on the ground. One could imagine how much power the realm tower was withstanding and how much heavenly might was pressing down on the top of the realm tower. Kakaka. Hongd. The realm tower was like a world of its own. Lightning and thunder covered the sky and covered the earth. Yi Qinghan's flesh was torn open and his flesh was torn. Even his bones were exposed. The great wasteland monument, Berserk, and the stone sword couldn't stop the power of the heavenly punishment. Yin and Yang balance, rebirth of all things. Yi Qinghan used Yin and Yang to quickly recover his flesh and blood. His body became stronger and stronger. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had already rushed to more than 80 steps. He was only 10 steps away from the 9th level. 10 steps, but it was like ascending to the heavens. Not to mention the realm lords, even if Swan Padian came personally, he wouldn't be able to cross this gap. Yi Qinghan's face was ferocious. His soul was about to be scattered by the heavenly punishment. His terrifying willpower was supporting him. He waved his hand and grabbed the lightning, allowing the lightning dragon to tear his body apart. I don't want the heavens to be able to control my willpower. I want this reincarnation to be born from my thoughts, to be born from my thoughts. I want to be on equal footing with the 9 worlds heaven. I don't ask for much. This is just a small goal of mine. Yi Qinghan's voice became hoarse, as if it wasn't his own voice. Hongda Yi Qinghan took another step. His black hair moved without wind. His black robe was torn apart. Only a strand of divine power was left. It fluttered under the pressure. 90 steps, 91 steps. Yi Qinghan's body had already risen to another level. The power of yin and yang became stronger and stronger, forming a great cycle in his body. It circulated repeatedly and became thicker. His strength became stronger and stronger. 92, then 13, he was only a few steps away from 99. Every step was frightening. Yi Qinghan could be crushed into powder at any time. The lightning was densely packed and pierced through his body. The divine bird in his chi and blood was extremely frightened. 97, 98. Yi Qinghan's black hair rushed to the sky. His eyes were resolute as he looked at the 9-layer world tower. The world spirit grass was at the top of the 9-layer world tower. It was hanging from the top of the tower, overlooking all living beings. 99. Bang. Yi Qinghan's legs were directly pressed to the ground. His knees were directly shattered. Yi Qinghan supported himself with both hands to relieve the pressure on his knees. His eyes were ferocious as blood flowed from his 7 orifices. He had officially stepped into the 9th level. But at this moment, the world tower rumbled. Tens of thousands of rays of light shot into the sky. The heavens have decreed. 99-1. Chapter 1574. The heavens have decreed. 9 by 9 return to 1. The 8 words came down from the top of the realm pagoda and directly hit Yi Qinghan. Then, divine light enveloped Yi Qinghan's body and sent Yi Qinghan to the first level of the realm pagoda. However, after being bathed in the divine light, his injuries instantly healed and his strength kept increasing. The yin and yang energy in his body and in his world had increased by dozens of times and was still increasing. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The yin-yang profound record rushed out of his world and circled above Yi Qinghan's head. The characters on it were filled with nomological laws. Each character contained a different profound law. When they entered Yi Qinghan's spiritual sea, the boundless profound law rushed into Yi Qinghan's head, causing his brain to swell. Boom. Finally, the words in the yin-yang profound record turned into countless specks of light that scattered in every corner of Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. Kakaka. Ding that the yin-yang profound record turned into a set of armor and attached itself to Yi Qinghan's body. It was even more fitting than the feather spirit robe. Buzz when the light dissipated, Yi Qinghan woke up from his dream. It was as if he had just fallen into an illusion. In just an instant, if not for the yin-yang profound record armor on his body, he would have suspected that he was dreaming. He originally wanted to endure the endless pressure, but this result caught him off guard. Damn it, we ran to the first level. We missed the treasure on the 8th level. The divine bird roared unwillingly. The heavens have decreed that 9 by 9 return to 1. Entering the 9th level was equivalent to returning to the first level. No one could obtain the realm soul grass. Although Yi Qinghan did not obtain the realm soul grass, his combat strength had increased significantly. If he fought one-on-one, he might not lose to Qian Padian. Let's wait for Qian Padian to come in. At the very least, we can suppress his advantage here. We will definitely win. The divine bird hurriedly reminded Yi Qinghan when it saw that he was about to rush out. In fact, when Yi Qinghan was teleported to the first floor, Lan Padian already knew. However, the time of the divine light was too short, so he didn't have time to react. After all, he didn't want Yi Qinghan to be teleported down the moment he reached the top of the 9th floor. At this moment, Swanpadian signaled to the 4 realm lords to cooperate with him in using the 7 stars heaven lock, making it impossible for Yi Qinghan to escape. But after a long time, Yi Qinghan waited for Swanpadian to enter the tower, while Swanpadian waited for Yi Qinghan to leave. Both sides were in a deadlock. Swanpadian, you bastard, get your ass in here. This divine bird has calculated that you only have 1 day left to live. If you don't come in and beg for mercy, perhaps this divine bird will be kind enough to spare your life. The divine bird directly cursed without giving him any face, not to mention the honor of an expert. This cursing was already considered polite. Hearing the divine bird's cursing, Swanpotion's face turned red with anger. He pointed at the entrance of the tower. If it wasn't for the fact that the 7 stars heaven lock didn't have a formation eye, he would definitely kill his way in and crush Yi Qinghan. Swanpadian, didn't you want to kill me? I'm on the 1st floor right now, come in. Yi Qinghan crazily stared at the entrance of the tower, waiting for Swanpadian to enter. He would definitely be struck by lightning. Be careful, there might be a trap inside. Righteous Heaven Divine Lord quickly reminded. Swanpadian sneered. How could he not know that the tower would suppress his secret arts? Entering the tower was the same as opening his eyes blind, so he definitely wouldn't take the risk. Huang, do you know why Emperor Yi died? Swanpotion's finger played with the black copper coin as he asked in a low voice. Inside the tower, Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed like lightning. He didn't answer Swanpotion's question, but deep down he was wondering if Swanpadian was behind this. This grandson is trying to provoke you. Now, there is no need to believe his words. Even if they are true, just treat them as lies. There is no need to listen to lies. The divine bird reminded. Yi Qinghan suddenly smiled as if he had thought everything through. At this point, everything was in order, so there was no need to feel regret over the past. Although Emperor Yi had passed away, perhaps an identical person would be born many years later. The Great Wilderness was destroyed, but a second Great Wilderness would be born sooner or later. Humans had regrets, but they also had emotions. Emotions gave birth to the 7 emotions and 6 desires. This was what it meant to be a human. Regardless of whether it was a powerful god or an ordinary person, they would be different from animals when they had emotions. The memories of Emperor Yi would always be the most beautiful, hidden in the depths of one's heart. Occasionally, one would think of them and smile sweetly. Yi Qinghan recalled every detail of Emperor Yi in his mind and smiled naturally. Anger will no longer cloud my rationality. Swanpadian, if you want to win against me, don't even think about relying on this little trick. I knew from the beginning that my son died because of you. You will also die completely because of her, never to be reincarnated. Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. Is that so? You are really benevolent and broad-minded. No wonder you destroyed the chaotic world. So in your eyes, everything can be lost. Swanpadian sneered. Outside the boundary tower, Jian Bugui's expression changed slightly. The Desolate Lord was no longer the emotionless Desolate Lord. Back then he was willing to die in battle for his brothers and clansmen. But now, the Desolate Lord was no longer the Desolate Lord. He was Yi Qinghan, a man with bottom lines and no principles. In order to survive, in order to achieve his goals, he would kill everything. Jian Bugui left quietly. The 4 sector lords and Swanpadian were all paying attention to Yi Qinghan and didn't realize that she had left. Outside the boundary tower was Yi Qinghan's death ground. Inside the boundary tower, Swanpadian had no chance of winning. The two looked at each other from a distance of 100 meters. Flames shot out from their eyes like black holes, deep and boundless. The 7-star heaven lock formation had been successfully set up. In addition to the 4 sector lords, Yi Qinghan was standing inside the boundary tower. Come out if you have the guts. Desolate, where did your arrogance go? Swanpadian scolded coldly. Come in if you have the guts. Bullshit, where did your bragging go? The divine bird stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and cursed. Boom. Swan Patian blasted a palm into the boundary tower. He was furious and his attack was filled with hatred. Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and dodged. Swan Potion's powerful attack actually disappeared after entering the boundary tower. There wasn't even the slightest aftershock. Yo yo yo, TSK TSK TSK, you can only calculate bullshit. Why don't you help this divine bird calculate whether my next fart will be fragrant or smelly? The divine bird laughed and mocked. This old man is going to die from anger. Feathered beast, stop spouting nonsense. This seat won't bicker with you. Swan Patian roared. The black copper coin in his hand emitted a soft hum. The originally immortal-like Swan Patian actually had some human aura. He knew how to be angry. From now on, you will be called Fraud Swan. This divine bird will assume the title of Swan Patian. The divine bird continued to provoke. Yi Qinghan grinned evilly. Swan Patian wanted to provoke him, but he didn't expect the divine bird to provoke him. Fraud Swan, good name. This seat also feels that this name suits you because you don't deserve to be called Swan Patian. Yi Qinghan followed the divine bird's words and mocked. Chapter 1575. Yi Qinghan and the divine bird were trying to infuriate Swan Patian and make him lose his mind. Verbal attacks were stronger than physical attacks, especially the divine bird. It was a feathered beast that was so weak that Swan Patian couldn't stand it when it cursed at him. But the more the divine bird cursed, the more excited it became. Looking at Swan Patian, it flew into a rage and laughed sinisterly. Kakik, Swan Patian, this great divine diviner has calculated that you will definitely lose today. Why don't you kneel and beg for mercy? Swan Patian stood outside the boundary tower, trembling with anger. He almost couldn't hold it in any longer. The four realm lords were more and more afraid of Yi Qinghan. This kind of person was so good at enduring. Today was not good. Son of a bitch. The divine bird purposely dragged out its voice and provoked. Come in and hit me if you have the guts. I'm out. I'm back. Come and hit me. The divine bird flew to the entrance of the boundary tower, but flew back in the blink of an eye. Swan Patian was speechless at the divine bird's provocation. He was so angry that his veins were bulging and his blood was roaring. He stared at the entrance of the boundary tower, ready to explode at any time. If the divine bird came out again, he could definitely kill it instantly. But the divine bird changed its position and tiptoed to the side of the boundary tower's entrance. It carefully stuck its head out, then cursed and immediately retracted its head. Boom! Swan Patian roared and slammed his palm on the boundary tower. The shockwave spread into the tower and the attack dissipated without any power. The boundary tower could absorb all energy and nothing could break through it. The divine bird was extremely wretched. It ran along the frame of the boundary tower to the front door and hung upside down with its tongue sticking out, making a funny face at Swan Patian. This action was just a flash and Swan Patian couldn't react in time. Yi Qinghan looked at Swan Patian, who was so angry that he was about to lose his mind. His lips curled into an evil smile that sent chills down people's spines. Sigh, I'm so tired. This son of a bitch doesn't even dare to come in. The divine bird ran back to Yi Qinghan's shoulder and said lazily, You have to understand the old man. He's old, and as the saying goes, the older you get, the more you fear death. You have to understand, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Swan Patian was furious. He stomped on the ground and rushed into the realm pagoda with the 7 coins in his hand. One of the coins flew out like a bolt of black lightning towards Yi Qinghan's throat. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Following that, the remaining 6 copper coins all rushed towards Yi Qinghan. They crisscrossed in an orderly fashion, sealing off Yi Qinghan from all directions. Swish, swish. Yi Qinghan hurriedly dodged, brushing past the black copper coins every time. His body slid and he swung his arms wildly, striking a black copper coin. The copper coin was almost shattered by the violent vibrations. Boom! The copper coin was smashed into the air, and the counterattack killed Swan Patian. Swan Patian reached out and grabbed the copper coin. His consciousness was slightly scattered. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's body was like lightning, forming countless clones that flashed back and forth in the first level of the realm pagoda. Swan Patian could no longer deduce yin and yang and the order of the world. At this moment, he was like a blind man who had lost his greatest advantage. He could no longer deduce where Yi Qinghan's next attack would be. Boom. Swish. Great wilderness breaking world. The voice was vast and mighty. It was impossible to tell where Yi Qinghan's real body was. In the midst of this lightning and thunder, Yi Qinghan attacked Swan Patian from all directions. Swish. 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 The 7 black copper coins split into tens of thousands of afterimages and attacked Yi Qinghan's clones. Boom. Whoosh. The afterimages shattered. It was not the real body at all. Boom. Yi Qinghan's real body, with the help of the afterimages, punched Swan Patian in the chest. Puff. Swan Patian coughed up blood. He was defeated in one move and retreated several steps. With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan raised his knee and spun his body in the air. His elbow was as fast as lightning and hit Swan Patian's neck hard. Boom. Swan Patian's neck was almost broken by Yi Qinghan. He fell to the ground and rolled out of the realm pagoda. Boom. Boom. Yi Qinghan was unforgiving. He punched again and again, but Swan Patian dodged every time. The interior of the realm pagoda was very large. Swan Patian kept dodging and lost his advantage and rationality. He was gradually at a disadvantage. Fire. Whoosh. The first level of the realm pagoda was filled with flames and enveloped Swan Patian. However, the realm pagoda did not help Yi Qinghan. It directly absorbed his fire origin attack. Swish. Swan Patian took advantage of the situation to escape the realm pagoda. Boom. The 9th strike. Destroy. Yi Qinghan followed closely behind. This saber strike was like a thunderbolt that could destroy the 9-world sky. It directly destroyed the 7-star Heavenlock formation that had yet to be activated. Even the combined forces of the 4 realm lords were unable to withstand Yi Qinghan's brutal strike. Boom. 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 Time and space reversed and shattered the clouds. This strike defied the heavens and chased after Swan Patian. Swan Patian rushed into the sky and teleported away from the realm pagoda. Huang, I was careless today. Don't be complacent. When I find Yin Zi, I will crush you. His voice echoed in the surroundings. Swan Patian disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yi Qinghan tore through the void and chased after him. However, outside the realm pagoda, Swan Patian's strength was at its peak. He could deduce all order. After 2 hours, he left Yi Qinghan in the dust and disappeared completely. This grandson is even more cowardly than me. He actually ran away. I wasted so much time talking to him. The divine bird cursed unwillingly. If it wanted to kill Swan Patian next time, it would have to waste a lot of time. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of turbid air. He was satisfied. At least he had improved. Now, even if they fought fairly outside the realm pagoda, he would not lose to Swan Patian by much. Let's go and get rid of the 4 realm lords. Yi Qinghan said coldly with a flash of cold light. Yi Qinghan brought the divine bird back to the realm pagoda. However, the 4 realm lords had already escaped. Then Yi Qinghan returned to the 9 worlds pagoda. He searched the 7 worlds but did not find Divine Lord Righteous Sky and the others. It was not easy to find someone the realm lords wanted to hide from. Otherwise, Yin Zi Xianzhe would not have been able to escape Swan Patian's pursuit. Yi Qinghan looked around the 9 worlds pagoda. He used his divine sense to explore the boundless 9 worlds pagoda. With his current strength, it was difficult to find every corner. Jian Bugui, come out and meet me. Yi Qinghan's voice was like a bell, reverberating in the desolate land. You are no longer the desolation of the past. It is better not to meet. Let me give you a word of advice. If revenge breeds revenge, will there ever be an end to it? Divine Lord Righteous Sky and the others were merely used by others. Stop after killing Swan Patian. Jian Bugui's voice reverberated in the 9 worlds pagoda. Pumph. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. Repaying evil with good, how could one repay good? If Divine Lord Righteous Sky and the others did not die, would Emperor Yi have died for nothing? I am no longer the desolation of the past. You are also no longer the Jian Bugui of the past. Since that is the case, let's not meet. Yi Qinghan flicked his sleeves and left. Chapter 1576. Yi Qinghan left and went to the Great Wilderness Palace to clean it up. However, the place had lost its charm of the past due to the vicissitudes of time. The Great Wilderness Palace was incomparably bleak and desolate. Yi Qinghan sat alone in the main hall of the Great Wilderness Palace. His spirit was in his sea of consciousness like a father god overlooking his own world. The current world was in harmony with yin and yang, and all living things were growing. It was much stronger than the world of the past. There was a special region that was filled with illusions. It was exactly the same as the primal chaos world of the past. There were hundreds of thousands of mountains, and each mountain was arranged in the same way. The insane sect was still established on Owl War Star. There were some places where the illusions had yet to disappear. They were still moving according to the trajectory of history. Most of the people of the insane sect had survived because of the illusions. Their growth hadn't changed at all. Their memories of the past were still preserved. They were the same people and the same things. Lin Wutian woke up. When he saw Yi Qinghan in front of him, he immediately forgot about his pain and smiled happily. "Brat, next time, if you dare to act recklessly without my permission, I will beat you up." Yi Qinghan slapped Lin Wutian's head fiercely. It looked ruthless, but Lin Wutian couldn't bear to do it. "Hee, I bet that Qian Padian wouldn't kill me if he failed. He would only torture me. I won the bet," Lin Wutian said happily. Yi Qinghan sighed. His heart ached for Lin Wutian. This world is in harmony with yin and yang. As my cultivation increases, I estimate that it can sustain the birth of 5 to 10 realm lords. You guys should hurry up and cultivate. As long as 4 of you can become realm lords and block divine lord Jing Tian and the others, I will be able to join forces with that wild ghost to attack Qian Padian. Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Although this world was complete, there were still many deficiencies. It wasn't a danger zone and couldn't provide opportunities for people to gain experience. The resources inside were also lacking. It could only give birth to some plants. Only the endless galaxy had the best development. A large amount of resources were gathered here. Yi Qinghan had transplanted a large amount of resources here. All of them were supreme treasures. When the experts of the insane sect gathered together, there weren't many who could be useful. Di Longtian, Jiang Jingtian, Gu Qingyu, Li Feng and Mo Li were the backbone of the younger generation. The older generation had been surpassed long ago. When I improve my world, I will send you guys to the world. It's a good thing. It's a pity that it can't be moved to my world. Yi Qinghan had benefited a lot in the realm pagoda, and he couldn't forget about it. Ascending to the 9th level would instantly increase his combat power by more than 10 times. If the younger generation ascended to the 9th level of the realm pagoda, they would definitely be able to reach the realm of the realm lord. Gu Qingyu and the others were looking forward to this. If they wanted to fight, they had to become world lords, or else they wouldn't be able to help at all. To the metal. To the divine God. After spending a large amount of time, Yi Qinghan transferred all the knowledge here into his world. Half a year later, Yi Qinghan started to study the record of yin-yang. If he wanted to have a perfect world, he had to understand how the world operated. He also had to have the 6 paths of reincarnation to allow the energy to circulate on its own. Most importantly, he had to allow the creatures here to break the rules and become supreme beings instead of restricting the growth of the world all the time. The yin-yang record was scattered in the corners of the world. Yi Qinghan started to study it slowly. Time flowed like water. A large amount of knowledge about the world's operation appeared in his psyche ocean. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was like a child. He was learning eagerly. He knew nothing about managing the world. He was even worse than Yinzi. Quite a few years later, lightning appeared in Yi Qinghan's world. The first lightning lit up the galaxy and struck the ground. Boom! Thunder rumbled, deafening the ears. Then, dark clouds covered the sky and heavy rain poured down. This was the beginning of nature. First, there was lightning. Then there was thunder. Then there was rain. Everything grew. The lightning, thunder, and rain in the primal chaos world were all illusions created by Yi Qinghan. The resources were also brought in by him. But now, it was different. Life began to multiply in this world. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. This world had finally returned to its original state. As long as time allowed, the time, space, and other great laws would slowly grow. With the help of yin and yang, everything would be many times better than the 9 realms. Yi Qinghan followed suit. He evolved the 9 worlds heaven into his own world. Then he slowly improved it. As the saying goes, the student surpasses the master. Oceans and rivers flowed across the world. Mountains and ancient trees were uprooted from the ground. The rain was still pouring down. The cold air was pressing. The people of the insane sect watched the evolution of the world. Their state of mind was slowly changing. They entered a state of epiphany. They wanted to open up their own world. However, those who were not sector lords were not qualified to evolve their own worlds. Only sector lords like Yi Qinghan could evolve their own worlds in the pseudo-sector lord realm. From the most basic microorganisms, fish gradually appeared. The creatures were huge. However, the resources could not keep up with their consumption. A large number of giant creatures starved to death. Some creatures adapted to the barrenness of the world and began to evolve. They began to evolve into small creatures. Survival of the fittest. Some creatures began to evolve and possess intelligence. They knew how to think. Everything was on the right track. The people of the insane sect might be the legendary innate divine worshippers. They had a high status and were the first batch of experts in this world. Just like the Yin-Yang Shen race, they knew how the world was formed. They were high above. Whooshed the divine bird soared into the sky. It soared in the wind and rain and cried out excitedly. This divine bird is the heavenly beast of this world, the supreme heavenly beast. I want to confer the little golden crow, the star-twining vine, my wife and future son as the 10 heavenly beasts. Together, we are the supreme heavenly beasts. The divine bird was extremely proud. With the 9 worlds as the model, Yi Qinghan's world was officially born. Yi Qinghan thought for a long time. He did not know what to name this world. Everyone, think about it. Let's name this world. Yi Qinghan looked at the people of the insane sect and suggested excitedly. Call it the martial world. Insane world. Great wasteland world. Chaos world. Everyone gave suggestions one after another. They wanted to come up with a name that could be used to name the new world. This was a very memorable name. Call it the Divine Bird World. The Divine Bird suggested proudly. Get lost. Everyone laughed and scolded. The Divine Bird curled its lips and said disdainfully, "You guys are just envious of this Divine Bird." Yi Qinghan shrugged and said indifferently, "How about we call it the Mad Martial World?" Chapter 1577. Whoosh! The wild martial world was officially formed. Yi Qinghan waved his hand to erase the illusion of the endless galaxy. Some people woke up from their daze. The people of the wild martial sect already knew that it was an illusion, so they were not surprised. Yi Qinghan led the young masters of the wild martial sect to the boundary tower. Now that the 4 realm lords had escaped, everyone was in a state of panic. They were afraid that the realm lords would fight. Now that the Snow Country's divine world was in tatters and the Snow Country's royal family was destroyed, only the will of the left marshal's residence was supporting the Snow Country. These years, the development of the Snow Country had been very rapid, gradually forming an empire system. However, there was no emperor, but Yi Qinghan had no interest in being the emperor. It was all supported by the people of the left marshal's residence, and they were like a ruling party. Yi Qinghan crossed the Snow Country's divine world and rushed toward the boundary tower after a rough look. Swan Patian had been injured by Yi Qinghan twice in a row. This time, he would definitely need to rest for a while. The other realm lords did not dare to provoke him and had already escaped. In the 9 worlds, except for Swan Patian who was hiding, no one else could harm Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan strolled leisurely and his figure flashed through the clouds like lightning. Half a month later, the boundary tower was right in front of them. Yi Qinghan appeared outside the boundary tower and waved his hand to send Di Longtian and the others out. Yi Qinghan reminded them in a low voice, "I'll wait for you on the first floor. Come one by one and walk as many floors as you can. Don't force yourself. The boundary tower is very dangerous and you can lose your life at any time." Everyone quickly lined up according to their cultivation level and waited for the opportunity to practice. Gu Qingyu stood in the first row, Jiang Jingtian in second, Li Feng in third, Lin Wutian in fourth, followed by Mo Li and Di Longtian. Gu Qingyu quickly rushed to the first floor and reached the second floor without any resistance. Then he entered the third floor and the fourth floor. Below the fourth floor, there was no pressure for people like him, but on the fifth floor, he began to struggle. However, the wills of these people from the insane sect were extremely terrifying. Yi Qinghan arrived outside of the boundary tower. Just as he was about to sit down and rest, he realized that the outside of the boundary tower was shining brightly. As long as Gu Qingyu took a step, the corresponding staircase would light up and summon everyone out. When he reached the seventh floor, Gu Qingyu's speed became extremely slow. He had to stop for a long time after taking a step. Yi Qinghan reminded him, after reaching the seventh level, the pressure will press down on both the physical body and the soul. Once the physical body cannot withstand it, do not face it. Otherwise, the pressure from the realm tower will instantly crush you into powder. When the willpower of the soul can't withstand it, it can crush your souls. Look at Brother Gu. His physical body and soul will are terrifying, especially his will. It's not much weaker than mine. After reaching the seventh level, it started to slow down. This means that he has reached his limit. If he can reach the 8th level and pick the level 13 divine herb, he will definitely be the best Xianzai. Yi Qinghan said seriously. Everyone nodded, their eyes filled with anticipation. Up until now, only Yi Qinghan had reached the 9th level. Although he didn't obtain the level 14 godly herb on the 9th level, nor did he obtain the level 15 realm soul grass at the top of the tower, he was already a legend. They all hoped that someone would break through the legend and enter the 9th level. Yi Qinghan was also looking forward to it. However, among those who could enter the 9th level, he valued the two most. They were Lin Wutian and Yan Yunbei. The pressure on the 9th level of the boundary tower was fixed. If the soul was strong, the pressure would mainly attack the soul. If the physical body was strong, the pressure would mainly attack the physical body. Lin Wutian and Yan Yunbei both had strong souls, especially Yan Yunbei. His calm soul was perfect. His attack and defense were flawless. Almost no one could make his soul fluctuate too much. Buzz! Divine light appeared above the boundary tower. It was the limit of the 8th level. As long as Gu Qingyu could reach the 8th level, he would definitely be on par with Swan Padian in the future. Everyone's palms were sweating. They were all looking forward to the brotherhood. They hoped that Gu Qingyu could successfully reach the 8th level. Then, the light on the 8th level flickered. Gu Qingyu rushed to the 8th level in a spurt of energy. However, he was pressed to the 8th level by the pressure. His body was twisted and almost shattered. After a long time, Gu Qingyu chose to give up climbing. Instead, he looked at the level 13 divine herb. Looking at the round power that was full of vitality, he reached out and grabbed it, uprooting it. Whoosh! Gu Qingyu was transported to the hall on the first level. The divine herb in his hand emitted a strong divinity. Even the wounds on his body were healing quickly. The power of the divine herb was evident. Not bad, not bad. I was afraid that you would continue to go up, Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Gu Qingyu smiled bitterly. I really don't have the strength to reach the next level. Otherwise, I would rather not have this divine herb. Yi Qinghan smiled and looked at Jiang Jingtian. He reminded him, Brother Jing'an, the divine herbs in the boundary tower are constantly replenished. Although the divine herb on the 8th level was taken by Brother Gu, a second one will automatically appear in the basin. The cycle is endless. If you have the chance to enter the 8th level, take that divine herb. Don't force yourself. Jiang Jingtian vowed. I will definitely be stronger than old Gu. I can still reach the first level of the 9th level. Then, Jiang Jingtian rushed into the boundary tower without hesitation. Jiang Jingtian rushed 5 times faster than Gu Qingyu. Holding the world-piercing spear, his steps were firm and powerful. However, as Yi Qinghan said, he only reached the 8th level and was almost blasted down by the boundary tower. Luckily, he got the 2nd level 13 divine herb. Next was Li Feng. Li Feng also reached the 8th level and got the 3rd divine herb. All the divine herbs were sent into Yi Qinghan's world to improve the illusion of the wild martial world. There were 3 level 13 divine herbs. A large amount of spiritual power diffused from the depths of the earth, making it more perfect. Level 13 divine herbs were incredible. They had boundless power and could bring the dead back to life. Lin Wutian was the 4th to go. Yi Qinghan was looking forward to it. He even forgot that he was going to cultivate in seclusion. He looked at Lin Wutian with a firm gaze and encouraged him. Lin Wutian clenched his fists and stepped into the boundary tower. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he climbed up step by step. He used a full 2 hours to reach the 8th level. The time was very even. Buzz. The first step of the 9th level lit up. Everyone's pupils shrank. They did not expect Lin Wutian to reach this step and surpass his master. Gu Qingyu looked at his disciple and laughed. He said to Jiang Jingtian and the others, "Ha, you have been surpassed by my disciple. How dare you challenge me?" Jiang Jingtian, Li Feng, and the others rolled their eyes. They were speechless. The others were very excited. Lin Wutian was definitely not the strongest in terms of combat power. However, he could become the first person besides Yi Qinghan to reach the 9th level. They would definitely have a chance to do so. Boom. Boom. Chapter 1578. Lin Wutian's every step was firm and steady. He was neither fast nor slow. It took him a day to reach the 30th step from the first step. Late at night, no one blinked. They were all waiting quietly. No one thought it was a waste of time. Instead, they were very excited. Can he reach the 9th step? Gu Qingyu asked nervously. He seemed to be happier than if he had reached the 9th step himself. I hope so, but I've calculated the time. It took him 1 incense stick's worth of time to reach the 2nd step from the first step, and 2 incense sticks worth of time to reach the 2nd step. Now, each step will take him an extra 2 hours. I'm afraid he's a bit tired now. The 50th step will be his limit. Yi Qinghan said truthfully. Hearing Yi Qinghan's analysis, everyone couldn't help but feel sorry. Sure enough, at noon the next day, Lin Wutian was sent flying when he reached the 50th step. He was severely injured and rolled all the way to the 8th step. He was almost killed by the boundary tower, but he still had a chance to get the divine medicine. Lin Wutian was sent back to the first step after picking the divine medicine. He returned to Yi Qinghan's world to cultivate. Then, Di Longtian and the others entered the world one by one. Unfortunately, other than Di Longtian, no one else reached the 8th step. The 7th step was the limit. When it was Yan Yunbei's turn, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes again and looked at the boundary tower. Just as Yi Qinghan had expected, Yan Yunbei easily reached the 8th step and began to move towards the 9th step. He was even faster than Lin Wutian. If he can't reach the 9th step, I'm afraid no one will be able to. Yi Qinghan said with expectation. No one had expected Yan Yunbei to break through and receive such a high evaluation from Yi Qinghan. Boom. Boom. The first step, the 2nd step, Yan Yunbei's steps lit up the steps. His body wasn't strong, and his soul wasn't strong either. However, his control over his soul was perfect. He could completely resist the pressure generated by the steps. On the first day, Yan Yunbei broke Lin Wutian's record and reached the 50th step of the 9th step. His speed didn't decrease much. This guy really hid his strength well. He actually reached the 50th step. Gu Qingyu and the others sighed. Yi Qinghan smiled but did not say anything. Yan Yunbei was able to step onto the 9th floor not because he was the strongest, but because his luck was very good and he was very suitable for the assessment of the boundary tower. Yan Yunbei was still climbing up the tower step by step. He was covered in blood and his skin was cracked. The might of heaven was vast and mighty. Lightning tore through the time and space in the realm tower and rushed into his body. However, the might of heaven could not hurt his soul at all. If it could stop him from reaching the 9th level, only the lightning would be unbearable for his physical body. Yan Yunbei felt piercing pain all over his body. The lightning was like a sharp knife cutting into his corporeal body. However, with every step he took, his corporeal body's cultivation increased by 30%. Yan Yunbei kept dodging. Even if these densely packed lightning bolts covered the sky and covered the earth, he could still find the place with the least number of attacks. This was his advantage. His reaction speed was just too fast, and his ability to control space with his soul made even Yi Qinghan feel ashamed of his inferiority. Boom, boom, crack, crack, crack. Yan Yunbei was dodging the lightning bolts. He shuttled through the center of the lightning bolts. Only a small portion of the lightning bolts hit his corporeal body. He was dripping with blood and his flesh was emitting a faint lightning glow. 51st step. 52nd step. There was almost no difference in time. Yan Yunbei's speed was just too fast. It was so fast that the people outside the realm tower gasped. They were really afraid that the realm tower would completely crush him. Yi Qinghan also took a deep breath and stared at the realm tower. He was afraid that Yan Yunbei would have an accident. Soon after, everyone realized that Yan Yunbei's speed did not decrease after reaching the higher levels. Instead, it increased a lot. What is he doing? He will die. Gu Qingyu and the others were people who had reached the 8th level. They knew how terrifying the pressure was when one reached the 9th level. They could not understand how Yan Yunbei did it. He is dodging the might of heaven and lightning. The pressure he is enduring now is almost 1% of yours. Once he is hit by the might of heaven, the pressure will instantly crush him. Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fist. He was sweating profusely and was very nervous. He was even dodging the might of heaven and lightning. Was there anything that Yan Yunbei could not dodge? Time passed slowly. Yan Yunbei began to try to withstand more of the might of heaven. His soul control had reached a terrifying level. Everything was under his control. The 80th step. The 85th step. Yan Yunbei was climbing faster and faster. The hearts of the people outside were in their throats. This time, Yan Yunbei would either succeed or die. There was no other choice. The 90th step. Gulp. Yi Qinghan and the others were swallowing their saliva. In the end, they even held their breaths. The 91st step. The 92nd step. The 93rd step. There were only 6 steps left. The might of heaven covered the sky and swept over, bombarding Yan Yunbei from the top of the realm tower. Boom. Crack. Crack. This time, Yan Yunbei did not manage to dodge. He was hit by at least 10 lightning bolts. The terrifying might of heaven forced him to kneel on the ground. His leg bones were almost broken. His handsome face had a trace of determination. Even if he was hit by the might of heaven and lightning, it did not affect his mood at all. Instead, he calmly took the next step. His body rolled and dodged the strongest attack of the realm tower. He rushed to the 94th step. The 95th step. The 96th step. He's going to succeed. He's going to succeed. Outside the realm tower, the crowd cheered. However, Yi Qinghan was even more nervous. Sweat fell from his forehead like rain, drenching his clothes. At this moment, Yan Yunbei's hair was straight down due to the might of heaven. His clothes were torn and his body was bathed in a river of blood. His eyes were shining brightly. He was determined and fearless. The 97th step. The 98th step. It was so close, but it was like the end of the world. He could not fail because he had reached the pinnacle through trickery. If he failed, he would die. I must succeed. Yan Yunbei was expressionless. His mind was calm. He used his divine senses to search for the place with the most vitality. His body shifted and shuttled through the lightning. Boom, boom, whoosh. Countless lightning bolts almost enveloped the entire realm tower, leaving only a trace of vitality. Boom. The 99th step. He took the last step and climbed to the 9th step. Suddenly, the last lightning bolt turned into a dragon. It swooped down from the 9th step and attacked Yan Yunbei. Yen Yunbei rolled lazily and shamelessly stepped into the hall of the ninth step. He knew that once he entered the ninth step, all the attacks would disappear. As expected, when Yen Yunbei rolled to the ninth step, the lightning dissipated and 8 words were cast from the top of the realm tower. Heaven's mandate. 9-9-1. Chapter 1579. Heaven's will, return to 1. Yen Yunbei rushed down from the top of the boundary tower and headed straight for the swaying level 14 elixir in the middle of the 9th floor. Yen Yunbei was quick to react. He had been eyeing this elixir since the beginning. He would either succeed and take the level 14 elixir or die in the boundary tower. Boom! Yen Yunbei took the level 14 elixir, but he was also hit by the words, Heaven's will, return to 1, and blasted into the first floor. Divine light bathed his body and healed his injuries. He did it. Outside the boundary tower, everyone cheered. The 9th floor. Finally, someone broke the legend. What they did not know was that Yen Yunbei had taken the level 14 elixir from the 9th floor, which was even better than Yi Qinghan's. Divinity and vitality filled the air. Even the people outside the boundary tower could feel it. Yi Qinghan was excited. He rushed to the entrance of the boundary tower and saw Yen Yunbei holding the elixir in his hand. His eyes were full of joy. Ha! Level 14 elixir. Old Yen, you're more ruthless than me. Yi Qinghan laughed. Yen Yunbei was bathed in the divine light. After a long time, the divine light disappeared. However, a bolt of lightning struck from the top of the boundary tower and blasted Yen Yunbei out of the tower. Even Yi Qinghan did not receive such treatment. Obviously, Yen Yunbei's opportunistic behavior had angered the boundary tower. The boundary tower had a spirit. Bang! Yen Yunbei crashed into the outside of the tower. He was battered and exhausted. However, the level 14 elixir in his hand was well protected. Shrouded in divine light, the slightest injury would be healed immediately. I was lucky. Yen Yunbei's face was expressionless. He was still as calm as ever, as if a level 14 divine medicine was nothing to him. Pervert! Everyone could not help but curse. This guy's state of mind was too good. The divine bird rubbed his palms and said to Yen Yunbei, Brother Yen, I'll give you a treasure in exchange. No way. Yen Yunbei hugged the level 14 godly medicine. He looked so lifelike that it seemed as if he was about to transform into a human form and soar into the sky. He emitted a powerful aura. Every single leaf could revive a person who was on the verge of death. You don't need it. The divine bird reminded him speechlessly. You don't need it either, Yen Yunbei replied faintly. Ha! Everyone from the Kuang clan laughed. The divine bird had finally been defeated for once. Yi Qinghan smiled and said to Yen Yunbei, Old Yen, you can plant it in your world. I will give you a holy land. Other than you, I guarantee that no one will be able to enter. It would be a waste to eat such a godly medicine. Divine bird? Yen Yunbei didn't doubt the others, but he was worried about the divine bird. It wasn't easy for him to snatch a level 14 divine medicine. If the divine bird ate it without a word, wouldn't he suffer a great loss? Yi Qinghan immediately laughed and replied, Ha, old smoke, the divine bird definitely won't be able to enter. Don't worry, I'll guard it alone. If a level 14 elixir was placed in his world, it would have a huge impact. Yi Qinghan could not let the divine bird eat it. The maniac martial world was weak. It was unlike the 9 worlds heaven which had developed for so many years. Yi Qinghan's cultivation was so strong, but there were still many places he could not set foot in. Who knew how many level 13 elixirs there were in the world tower? Yi Qinghan took Yen Yunbei away and gave him a treasured land in the maniac martial world. Our maniac martial world is lacking in elixirs. Anyone who can snatch a level 13 elixir will get a piece of sacred land. Yi Qinghan said firmly. Many people could not become a realm lord. Getting a piece of sacred land in the maniac martial world was definitely the best result. Therefore, everyone swore solemnly and were extremely excited. At this time, Yi Qinghan sent out all the original members of the foreign races from the Chaos world. Even the elite guards were sent out to participate in the training together. Even getting a piece of elixir was extremely good. Yi Qinghan cultivated outside and was also defending, afraid that Swanpadian would suddenly attack. However, in such a large-scale training, there were gradually deaths, and the number was not small. The world tower was dyed red and blood flowed like a river. Yi Qinghan could not bear to see this happen. He especially warned that no one was allowed to take risks. Those with weak cultivation were not allowed to break through to the 6th floor. The training this time was huge. The other experts of the 7 worlds were also slowly approaching. They only dared to stand outside after getting Yi Qinghan's permission, waiting for the maniac martial sect to finish their training. Half a year later, Yi Qinghan woke up from his seclusion. He was full of energy and radiated with glory. His eyes flashed with the profound meaning of the laws. His majesty soared to the sky. A wisp of his will carry traces of heavenly might, just like a heavenly father. The maniac martial sect was used to Yi Qinghan, but now, they felt some pressure. However, Yi Qinghan smiled. He did not want to alienate these brothers and sisters, so he tried his best to be humble. Soon, they were no longer pressured. No matter how strong Yi Qinghan's cultivation was, their brotherhood would not change. The divine bird curled its lips. It was very dissatisfied that it had not advanced for a long time. People say that when a man achieves the Tao, his chickens and dogs will fly. This divine bird is much more advanced than them. Why don't you let me get some divine qi and let me advance to the realm lord? The divine bird looked up at Yi Qinghan and said expectantly. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes and said in a muffled voice, "If I had the ability to make you a realm lord, would I still be here?" The divine bird was unhappy and scolded unhappily. Yi Qinghan laughed foolishly. He did not want to bicker with the divine bird. At this time, the maniac martial sect had finished their training. Outside the realm tower, countless experts from the 7 realms had gathered. A large number of experts from the Snow Country and the Divine World were led by the people of the left martial residence to stand near Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan motioned for the people of the left martial residence to enter the tower to train. He said indifferently, "Anyone who obtains a divine medicine of level 12 and above, send it to the Great Wilderness Palace." Lord Left Marshal. The people of the left martial residence bowed and replied. Yi Qinghan looked around with a dignified gaze. He said in a deep voice, "I am purchasing divine medicines of level 12 and above. Anyone who has a level 12 divine medicine will get a piece of land in the wild martial world. I will treat everyone equally. Anyone who has divine medicines of level 12 and above can come to the Great Wilderness Palace to find me." After that, Yi Qinghan took away the people of the maniac martial sect and left in a flash. In these few years, the 9 worlds finally quieted down. All living beings seemed to have forgotten about the war. The realm lord had disappeared. Even Swanpadian was nowhere to be found. In a vast forest, a little girl was tiptoeing and hiding her aura. She was Yinzi Xianzhe, who had disappeared for a long time. At this moment, Xianzhe's realm was getting higher, but her battle strength did not increase by much. In her world of yin and yang, a young man slowly opened his eyes. His aura was majestic. His gaze seemed to be able to see through the world. His every move carried the aura of an emperor. It was Yen Ao. His handsome face carried the resoluteness of a soldier. His vigorous body stood under the peach of immortality tree. The long spear was stabbed into the ground beside him. He was in harmony with heaven and earth. In the world of yin and yang, coupled with the power of the peach of immortality, he had recovered and his strength was even stronger than before. Chapter 1580. Yen Ao looked at the immortal peach tree, but there was no greed in his eyes. Instead, he was confused about where he was. However, the people from the Yin-Yang Xian race noticed that Yen Ao had woken up and quickly surrounded him. It was Mystic 3, the 100 young experts, and Xian Fei. "You're awake. This is my daughter's Yin-Yang world. You don't have to worry." Mystic 3 looked at Yen Ao's cold and vigilant expression and quickly explained. "Are you the ones who saved me?" Yen Ao looked at Mystic 3 and asked with a frown. Mystic 3 shook his head and explained, "It's a young man who saved you. We don't know what his real name is. He sent you into the Yin-Yang world and stopped Swanpodian. I don't know what happened after that." Yen Ao's eyes flashed as he looked at the Yin-Yang world and said, "I'm Yen Ao. May the master of the Yin-Yang world show himself." Shua with a thought, Xianzhe sent Yen Ao out of his world. The two looked at each other and were both shocked by the aura. However, Xianzhe knew Yen Ao's background and was abnormally confident. He said, "I'm Yin-Yang Xianzhe. Senior Nameless handed you over to me. Fellow Taoist, please derive his appearance for me." Yen Ao immediately said. Xianzhe waved his hand and Yi Qinghan's appearance appeared in front of Yen Ao. At this moment, his appearance was very different from Huang's. "It's him," Yin-Yang Xianzhe whispered. Yen Ao frowned and said doubtfully, "It's Big Brother Huang? He's back? His aura is very similar, but why is there such a big difference in appearance?" Yen Ao didn't see the person, only an image. He didn't dare to be sure. "Where is he?" Yen Ao asked excitedly. Xianzhe shook his head. Ever since they separated in the World Tower, he hadn't seen Huang Xiaolong again. He didn't even know if Huang Xiaolong was still alive. Swanpodian is blocking the periphery of this forest. It's very difficult for us to leave this place and return to the human gathering place of the 9 worlds. His deduction skills are much stronger than mine. I can't hide from him." Xianzhe whispered. This vast forest was boundless. It didn't belong to the human gathering place. Other than the dense forest, there were chaotic mountains and vicious beasts that were bloodthirsty. Yen Ao's heart was set on returning home. He arrived at a mountain top to look at the general situation of the world, looking for a way out of danger. After discussing with Xianzhe, he found out that Swan Potion's deduction skills had reached the pinnacle and his strength had surpassed a sector lord. If they were to face him head-on, there would be no luck. Yen Ao began to use his unique deduction method. He did not rely on the mysteries of heaven, but on his intelligence. He used his brain to go against the mysteries of heaven. Even if Podian is on the outside, we will have to lure him in if we want to escape from this place. Yen Ao pointed to the depths and firmly said. Xianzhe quickly reminded, "Even if we join forces, we won't be a match for him. If we lure him in, we won't be able to escape." Yen Ao smiled faintly and said confidently, "He is not omnipotent. His deduction is also not omnipotent. Otherwise, he would have already entered the depths to capture you. Let's find a dangerous place first and take it one step at a time. I'll play with him." After saying that, Yen Ao took the initiative to walk forward. The two of them moved very quickly. The two of them shuttled through the mountain path. Occasionally, they would encounter some powerful beasts. However, they were attracted by Xianzhe's Yin and Yang aura. Xianzhe would absorb all of them into the Yin and Yang Great World and imprison them in a certain area. The 9 worlds were boundless. The two of them were like ants. Although they seemed to be moving very quickly, looking from the sky, it was as if they were not moving at all. A few days later, Yen Ao found a world filled with dried-up bones. They were all bones of some vicious beasts. The eerie white bones were particularly frightening. Some broken tree trunks were scattered all over the place. It was obvious that they were crushed by the body of a huge creature. Heaven's might surged from the depths to the periphery. This place was still the periphery of the forest. No one knew what they would encounter if they went deeper. Xianzhe did not dare to go deeper. The fear from the bottom of her heart was spreading. This meant that there were creatures in the depths that could kill her. The most dangerous place is the safest place. The more chaotic a place is, the harder it is to deduce. Just follow me. Yen Ao was very confident. The light in his eyes made others have no choice but to believe him. Xianzhe smiled bitterly. As expected, the people who were close to Yi Qinghan were all perverted. Their desire to control was too strong. Yen Ao stepped on the white bones. The white bones had been there for too long. They had decayed and shattered with a single step. When the two of them were about to step out of the white bone land, Yen Ao waved the divine spear in his hand and carved a few big words on a big tree. The words were written in a flamboyant style. It was as if a divine dragon was about to break out of its imprisonment and charge towards the 9 heavens. Swanpodian will be buried here. Aren't you exposing our route by doing this? Xianzhe asked with a frown. That's right. I am asking Swanpodian to chase after us. However, I am afraid that he will not dare to follow this path after seeing these few words. Yen Ao said indifferently. After he finished speaking, Yen Ao continued to walk along the diagonal path towards the depths. A few days later, Swanpodian arrived at the dense white bone land. He looked at the few big words on the tree and coldly muttered to himself, Yen Ao, you really came back. That damned Ling Yen, you spoiled my plans. You actually showed mercy and left Yen Ao behind. Just as Yen Ao had predicted, Swanpodian thought for a long time. He found a mountain peak and looked at the forest. Indeed, he did not walk on this path. Instead, he walked along the diagonal path towards the depths. However, after walking for a few days, he actually found a few more words. It was still the same few words. Swanpodian will be buried here. The danger zone was shrouded in dense killing intent. The might of the heavens was vast and mighty. The killing intent soared to the heavens, making it difficult for Swanpodian to make a deduction. Are you playing with me? What is the meaning of exposing our whereabouts? Swanpodian was furious. He clenched his fists tightly and did not dare to walk on this path. For a few months, Swanpodian had encountered more than a dozen of such scenes. Suddenly, he became somewhat doubtful. When he arrived at the first white bone land, he became furious. He knew that he had been tricked, because Yen Ao had pulled him to draw a circle in the forest. Most importantly, he was sealed in the circle. No wonder he could not walk out no matter how hard he tried. He also could not find Yen Ao and Xianzhe's final position. At this time, Yen Ao had already brought Xianzhe to a point outside the circle and rushed out in a straight line. How did you know that he would walk according to the circle you drew? Xianzhe smiled bitterly. If Swanpodian had broken those words from the beginning and chased after them, the two of them would not have been able to escape. People who are good at deduction will not do things that they are not certain of. The 10 points I chose are all filled with danger and are covered by the surging heaven's might. It is impossible to deduce. He did not dare to take the risk and could only change his route. He is probably still thinking about how to walk out of that circle. Yen Ao was incomparably calm. It was as if he had done a very ordinary thing. Military saint, a wise almighty expert. Although it seemed risky, every step he took was reasonable. His grasp of human nature had already reached the pinnacle. After Yen Ao explained, Xianzhe could not help but admire his brain. For every step he took, he had already planned out the next 3 steps. No wonder he was titled as military saint. The two of them increased their speed and rushed towards the human gathering place of the 9 worlds. Half a month later, Xianzhe and Yen Ao arrived at the floating island. However, this place had turned into ruins. Even the floating coffin had been opened. Yen Ao had left a few words at the center of the island. It was engraved, Yen Ao has left. Welcome to the 9 worlds for a battle. Half a year later, Swanpodian chased after Yen Ao from the depths of the island in a sorry state. Looking at Yen Ao, his words were filled with provocation and anger. He smashed the stone tablet left behind by Yen Ao with a palm strike. Yen Ao, you want to have a battle of wits with me? Military saint. Let's see if your wisdom is stronger or if my deduction is more accurate. Swanpodian took a deep breath. Recently, he had been teased by the divine bird and Yen Ao. He had almost lost his mind. Chapter 1581. Swanpodian was so angry that his whole body trembled. He was scolded by the divine bird for being shameless, but he was played by Yen Ao like this. It was pure intelligence being crushed. A sense of humiliation shrouded his heart. Swanpotion's veins were bulging and his hair was dancing wildly. Son of a bitch! Since I was born, no one has dared to play with me like this. Boom! Swanpodian stepped through the void and the stars shifted as he rushed towards the boundary tower. Many people were training in the world tower. They all knew their limits and gave up if they couldn't reach it. With the experience of the crazy sect, the death rate was greatly reduced. The people of Snow Country had all finished their training. There was actually a young man who relied on luck to enter the 8th level and obtained a level 13 divine medicine. There were a total of 6 people who entered the 7th level and more than 100 people in the 6th level. They came from Snow Country. With the protection of Marshal Snow, no one dared to fight for resources. They were allowed to leave the World Tower under the protection of the left Marshal residents. The experts from all sides wantonly suppressed the people. Even the fake World Lords started to rush towards the World Tower. The weak couldn't be queued up. After a few years, there were only a few giant god-level existences left outside the World Tower. Swanpodian was in a bad mood. He stepped outside the World Tower and saw a stone tablet on the left side of the World Tower. It was still engraved, "Swanpodian is buried here." He was instantly enraged and threw a punch over. Boom! The stone tablet exploded. However, it wasn't stone fragments that flew out. Instead, it was 10,000 arrows that surrounded Swanpodian. Great desolate 10,000 arrow crossbow. Show that it was really 10,000 divine arrows that covered the sky and covered the earth. They surrounded Swanpodian from all directions. Boom! Swanpodian was caught off guard and was sent flying. The strongest bolts carried a water bag and slammed into Swanpotion's body. The divine bolts tore through Swanpotion's outer defense and the water bag exploded. It was filled with death energy and poisonous water that splashed all over his body. His white robe turned black and his white hair turned black while his body emitted a foul stench. Arat Swanpodian roared, his chi rushed to the stars and shattered the rest of the arrows. However, his body was dirtier than a beggar. He was battered and exhausted. Show! A piece of parchment shot out from the broken stone tablet. It swayed in the wind, and there were a few words written on it. Seeing this, Swanpotion's eyes almost popped out. IQ crush. Swanpodian was so enraged that his blood and chi churned. He couldn't hold it in any longer and retreated while coughing up blood. It was really an IQ crush. It was a complete joke. Yen Ao was using practical actions to stimulate Swanpodian, making him lose his rationality. Ooh! Master Pation's entire body was trembling and his breathing was unsteady. He used the heavenly water source to wash away the filth on his body. He no longer had the aura of an immortal and was more like a demon. His eyes flashed with red light. Ah, good. If you provoke me, let's see what you can use to dispel my anger. A large number of giant gods near the realm tower all hid, trembling in fear from Swanpotion's murderous aura. They didn't even have the courage to look at him. At this moment, a giant god trembled and crawled to Swanpotion's side. He held a seal in his hands and said respectfully, "Half a year ago, an expert asked me to pass this seal to you. He said that you will reward me." Swanpodian didn't dare to take the seal for fear that Yen Ao would plot against him again. However, that middle-aged giant god respectfully said, "He also said that you don't have to be afraid. This seal doesn't have any hidden weapons." At this moment, the people outside the realm tower were discussing. How powerful was Swanpodian all these years? He was actually provoked like this. Although they were whispering, Swanpodian could still hear them. When Swanpodian heard this, his anger soared. This was clearly a provocation. Boom! Swanpodian took the talisman. Unable to vent his anger, he directly killed the person in front of him. After killing him, he became even angrier. With a wave of his hand, he directly killed all of the giant gods outside the realm tower. A mist of blood filled the air. A bunch of ants. You dare to mock me? Swanpodian grinned coldly, sending chills down everyone's spine. The talisman seal was a message talisman. After Swanpodian opened it, a line of small words appeared in the sky. Swanpotion's blood and chi churned once more as his vision turned dark, and he almost fainted. The words in the sky read, "Trash, kill all the ants from the 7 realms outside the realm tower for me. You son of a bitch, this old man will crush you. You will never have the chance to reincarnate." Swanpodian was driven mad. This was the third time he had been tricked, and an expert like him couldn't bear it. Kakaka. Swan Patian clawed at his palm, causing it to bleed. His breathing was rapid, and his chest heaved up and down. He was like an enraged sea, and his heart was in turmoil. Sure enough, Yen Ao had made Swan Patian lose his rationality. Whoosh! Swan Patian didn't even think as he directly rushed towards the depths of the Nine Worlds heaven, towards the great wasteland world, wanting to stop Yen Ao and Inzi Xianzhe. With Yen Ao and Xianzhe's speed, it was impossible for them to reach the great wasteland world in half a year's time. They might not even be able to reach the Snow Country's divine world. Swan Patian shifted and tore through space. In an instant he was 100,000 miles away, and a moment later he had crossed the distance of a large continent. Moving as fast as lightning, the stars moved. At the intersection of the Supreme Realm and the Divine Martial World, a majestic mountain range separated the two realms. There was only a large canyon as the entrance and exit. In the middle of the cliff, there was a huge rock with a few words carved on it. Swan Patian will be buried here. Whoosh! Swan Patian learned his lesson this time. After retreating from the canyon, he used the black copper coin to pierce through the huge rock. The huge rock exploded, but there was no mechanism. It was just an ordinary huge rock. The corner of Swan Potion's mouth twitched. Once bitten, twice shy. As long as it was an obstacle set by Yen Ao, he would carefully test it. At this time, Yen Ao and Xianzhe had already entered the Snow Country's divine world, and began to rush towards the great wasteland world. Their speed was comparable to the Realm Master, but far slower than Swan Patian. Now, Swan Patian only needed to cross the divine martial world to enter the Snow Country's divine world. Yen Ao's expression was normal, but he also knew that with their speed, they wouldn't be able to escape. To be able to drag out the time for so long was already their limit. I'll use the empty city strategy. You go to the great wasteland world and ask for help first. I'll delay until Big Brother Huang comes. Yen Ao already knew that the so-called left general was definitely Huang. He stepped onto a large city of the Snow Country's divine world, held his spear, and signaled Xianzhe to leave first. Xianzhe was somewhat unwilling to escape alone, and quickly advised, "Let's increase our speed. Who knows, we might be able to escape. If you stay here, you'll definitely die. I won't be able to explain to your big brother Huang." Yen Ao smiled indifferently and replied confidently, "Don't worry, leave quickly. Even if we leave together, we won't be able to escape. If you leave, I can make Swan Patian not dare to act recklessly." Xianzhe looked at Yen Ao's firm and confident gaze, and had no choice but to quickly rush towards the great wasteland world. After Yen Ao saw Xianzhe leave, he forcefully ordered the general guarding the city, "Pass down the left general's order. Open the city gates and move everyone out of the city. Move from the east gate to the depths of the city. No one is allowed to stay in the city." Chapter 1582. With Yen Ao's orders and threats, half a day later, everyone in the city fled without a trace, escorted by the army. The city had become an empty city. Yen Ao sat on the city wall. He brought a table of food and wine from the city. His spear was beside him as he quietly drank while facing the sky. His back was straight and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His vigorous face was filled with resoluteness and dignity. That kind of aura was not something that could be formed overnight. The aura of a commander soared to the sky. Handsomeness came from the bones. Some people could not be handsome for more than 3 seconds. However, people like him were handsome all the time. Yen Ao drank the strong wine and ate the food. It was very refreshing. He drank a big bowl of strong wine in one gulp. When it entered his throat, it made his whole body burn. Even his armor was emitting light. At this moment, Swan Patian came from afar. Seeing Yen Ao sitting alone on the city wall and drinking strong wine, Swan Potion's eyes were filled with killing intent. He clenched his fists tightly. However, he was also puzzled as he did not understand why Yen Ao was sitting here waiting for him. "Yen Ao, are you trying to trick this old man again?" Swan Patian raised the corner of his mouth and scolded coldly. Yen Ao smiled indifferently. He drank a mouthful of strong wine and said calmly, "This commander likes to deal with smart people the most. Senior is known as Swanpatian. You are definitely a wise almighty. Moreover, you helped me kill those ants. Why don't you come up and drink to your heart's content?" Shwa. A second wine cup and chopsticks appeared on the table. Yen Ao gestured with his hand. Yen Ao dared to invite Swanpatian, but Swanpatian did not dare to step on the city wall. Shio. Shio. Boundless heaven and earth, the origin of all laws appear. Swanpatian mobilized the black copper coin, wanting to find the origin and deduce the development of all things. However, there was only confusion in front of him. He could not deduce anything. Swanpatian frowned. He did not understand what Yen Ao was doing. He actually blocked the heaven's secret. Shio. One of the black copper coins appeared in the sky. However, the sky was dark. This black copper coin can communicate with the black copper coin in Xiaoye's hand. Xiaoye's black copper coin has Desolate's blood. Why can't I find any traces of him now? Swanpatian was shocked. In the past, he only needed to connect to the black copper coin in Xiaoye's hand to find Yi Qinghan's whereabouts. But now, he couldn't connect to it and couldn't deduce Yi Qinghan's location. If there was something that he could not deduce, he would not do it without any restraint. Even though he hated Yen Ao to the extreme, he did not wish to act without being able to see through the situation. Yen Ao is an intelligent and powerful figure, yet he dares to provoke me in such an unbridled manner. Could it be that Huang set up a great formation here? Since he dared to take the risk, he must be confident. Swanpatian muttered to himself. Swanpatian understood that ever since Yen Ao had undergone his transformation, he had never been defeated. Obviously, Yen Ao wouldn't make a move unless he was 100% confident. The two of them were in a deadlock. Swanpatian didn't dare to step onto the city wall. Yen Ao smiled, revealing his spotlessly white teeth. However, when Swanpatian looked at him, he felt that it was somewhat sinister. "Senior, there is no need to be so cautious. I am the only one left in this city. There is no one else. If you don't believe me, you can use your divine sense to probe." Yen Ao calmly reminded. Swanpatian used his divine sense to probe the city. He discovered that other than Yen Ao, there was not a single wild beast. This made him even more puzzled. "Senior, fighting and killing will never end in a lifetime. Why do you need to sit down and have a drink with me? Let me tell you what I have dreamed of all these years." Yen Ao's expression was as usual, without any fear. This made Swanpatian somewhat unable to see through him. "Since the destruction of the great wilderness until now, I have only had one dream. That place is both real and illusory. Even now, I don't know if I am dreaming of that dream or if I am in a dream right now. That is the eternal world. The eternal sovereign controls the world and all living things are ants." Yen Ao's voice was impassioned as it reverberated through the vast sky. Snow swirled in the air and gradually covered the entire sky. "It is just a dream. Who would have thought that a dignified military saint, an intelligent almighty figure, can't even differentiate between dream and reality?" Swanpatian coldly sneered. "A dream is not a dream, reality is not reality. How do you know if it is a dream or reality?" Yen Ao asked back. "Nonsense. Since you think it is a dream, then wake up. I will fulfill your wish." After saying that, Swanpatian walked forward. The black copper coin in his hand carried dense killing intent. It shrouded the city. Yen Ao's face was expressionless. Instead, he smiled and said, "Actually, that dream is real. It is just that my soul has wandered outside the world. Don't you want to hear what the outside world is like? You are so desperate and unscrupulous. Isn't it because you want to devour Inzi's world, break the shackles of the 9 worlds and go to the eternal world?" While Yen Ao was stalling for time, Xianzhe was desperately rushing towards the great wilderness domain. Although her realm was high, her battle prowess was nothing to be proud of. Her speed was even worse. It took her a long time to reach the great wilderness domain. Great Wilderness Domain, Great Wilderness Palace. Yi Qinghan sat on the dragon throne in the main hall. He looked down at Xiao Yu, who was kneeling in the main hall with a gloomy and dissatisfied face. I have treated you well. You actually used my blood to put in Swan Potion's life copper coin to calculate everything about me. No wonder everything about me is under Swan Potion's control. Back then, when my cultivation was weak, it was one thing for him to be able to deduce everything. But now that I'm a world overlord and my combat strength has surpassed the past, he still knows everything about me. You've really done a good thing. Yi Qinghan's killing intent surged as he questioned. Xiao Yu didn't dare to raise her head. She was extremely ashamed. She didn't know how to face Yi Qinghan. Fellow Taoist, he sent me to your side to obtain your blood essence. I am really unwilling to help him, so I told you the truth. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Xiao Yu had already made up her mind to die. She raised her head and said, Kill you? You have helped him scheme against me for so long. Then help me scheme against him again. Yi Qinghan said coldly, You won't be able to scheme against him. He can't deduce you, but can't he deduce me and the situation of this world? Moreover, he doesn't really trust me. I am only his temporary disciple in order to get close to you. Xiao Yu smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan was silent for a long time. Looking at Xiao Yu's regretful expression, he clenched his fists and only loosened them after a long time. The hall was oppressive. A cold wind blew over. There was no sign of life. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's brows twitched. He looked at the end of the great wilderness, the border between Snow Country and the God World. As the Lord of the Great Wilderness, he could control every blade of grass and every tree in the Great Wilderness. Not to mention that a supreme being expert had arrived. Xianzhe. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and brought Xiao Yu into his world, imprisoning her. Then he soared into the sky and used spatial shrinking. Wherever his divine sense passed, he instantly arrived. The Great Wilderness was just a part of his body. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan broke out of his world in the blink of an eye and appeared in front of Xianzhe. He asked excitedly, Has Yan Ao awakened? Senior, he is in a city in Snow Country's God World. He is helping me to buy time so that you can save him. Xianzhe said excitedly when she saw Yi Qinghan. Boundless heaven and earth, yin-yang borrowing power. Swish! Yi Qinghan grabbed Xianzhe's hand. The energy in Xianzhe's body was quickly sucked dry. The energy in her yin-yang world quickly flowed into her body. The two of them disappeared in a flash. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.